Hello, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. And welcome to another evening, afternoon, in some location of I Am Sure Sports, your premier YouTube channel, and all that there is in sports, whether football, basketball, well, football, American football, and what we call soccer. I am your guest host, Stan Kroenke. I'm here sitting in today for the traditional host, Manning's Man, who's away on official national duty. And haven't had a chance to talk to him much, but I know he's doing well. And we want to have a good dialogue with you this afternoon concerning the upcoming game between Guatemala and Jamaica. And who best to have the discussion with than my favorite guest host, Mr. Andre Fortune. Andre, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Stan Kroenke, how you doing, brother?
I am doing well. I'm excited.
Yes, I see the landscape, the Jamaican landscape is quiet. It's exciting. It's all of the hard work has paid off so far, and I think people are enjoying where the team sits at the moment.
Yes, and our loyal, famous, well-known administrator, Fresh God, is in the house. Fresh God, how are you doing? Thanks for joining and for administering the program as you normally do, and you do so greatly. And welcome, Tennessee Lewis. Thanks for joining us. So before we jump in this, Andre, I want to mention a couple of things. One is I've been watching some track and field, so we're not going to digress from the football.
Right.
There've been a number of upsets. I'm sure Trinidad may be having their preparation and their national trials for the World Championship. But in Jamaica, we have had a number of upsets. Blake, who you know has been a perennial champion and stalwart for Jamaica, false start the other day. We had Elaine Thompson, who didn't make it. Well, probably made a relay team, but didn't make it in terms of the individual events. So it's been really interesting, actually, to see what's transpiring. And then you went to see Trinidad last week. So before we jump into this preview game, you should talk about what you saw, any good takeaway from that game that you saw. Because I was trying to watch both games. One eye on the Trinidad game, because I hope Trinidad would hold the U.S. to less than 2 goals, and obviously watch the Jamaica game and commenting.
Yeah. Do we have to?
Well, look, sometimes the score doesn't clearly reflect the run of play. Did the score reflect the run of play?
Did the score reflect the run of play? Look, I think the US was better. I think the first 8 minutes of the game or so, or early in the game, it looked like it would be a competition, but then the US ran away with it. And it just shows that, they're better prepared physically in almost every aspect of the game, and we have some work to do. We do have a good bunch of kids, a good bunch of players. We do, but there's some work to be done. Because if you ask me, what I saw is us being able to get close to them when it matters, and really play as a unit and press as a unit and work together. So, and there were, if you look at the first goal, the US just walked out to the back as almost as though we weren't there. So there's some work to be done, but those guys there's some good players in the team, and
right.
We'll see how the group could recover. I think right now they're in the process of trying to figure out whether the coach stays or goes. I read in the paper that there was some that he said he was going to resign, and then there was a press release that kind of said something else, that's not the case at the moment, that they need to do analysis. So there was also in the paper that they were talking to another coach. The press release came out and said they won't. So we there's some work to be done, both on and off the field.
Because I've been watching, I watch a couple of games, not total games, synopsis of games on sports match sometimes.
Mhm.
And what I see is you have nice big stadiums, but they're not well maintained
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're not well attended.
Yeah. That's a reality. Sometimes I hear that the attendance is good at some of the games, but I think the
Right.
camera is sometimes on the side with the fan.
Oh, okay.
Right. So you
Yep.
don't see.
That makes sense.
So all of those little details, could be rectified. So because look, football strives on a couple of things. One is revenue, and one is emotion, right? And if you're unable to create that emotion, then it's hard to attract more fans and more sponsors and that kind of stuff. So there's some work to do, for sure. The unfortunate thing is they aren't FIFA windows where you can play friendlies. It's all competition, right? When you come back in September again, it's Nations League, and so we see how that goes. But they got to get their act together really, really quick.
But maybe you need to do what Jamaica seems to be doing more effectively this time around, which is sourcing talent from wherever that talent resides.
Yeah.
So long as you have Jamaican nationality and it's good enough, then you bring it to your program and you help them to bond and work together to achieve a common cause. So hopefully you'll be able to do so, because I'm sure Trinidad has players who probably have Trinidad lineage but may not have been brought into the national team.
Well, I've started a process, the idea of trying to see if I could do. I know there's some people like Cataract has done a really good job at helping identify people, and I don't know who else has been involved in that. But to see if we can accomplish the same, because there's nobody doing it, obviously. And then there's the conversations about who should play for the national team. I think is a really immature conversation to be having.
Right.
So I started to talk to some people to see. I did have a conversation with Cataract as well to see, how he goes about doing it. So I don't know. Hopefully it bears some fruits and we'll be able to identify some more players for the national team. But I'm not doing this
so
on
now
behalf of anyone.
Yeah. So now we come to go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just saying it's just a project that I think I'm going to try to do on my own.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's everyone benefits from it, right? So but sometimes you don't also get the credit for the effort you put out and the resources you expend to help, because you're a patriot and a person who wants the country to do well. But sometimes others benefit from sometimes the legwork that's done to bring people to the program. So hopefully, if you do it, you get the credit you deserve, actually. Well, it does take a lot of time, personal time and effort to do so.
It does. It does. A lot of resources. But for me, if I could have the feeling that you have right now, when you leave,
you see I have my pre-game jersey on.
When you leave forward, there's a certain amount of confidence in the movement.
I have my pre-game jersey on.
Yeah, it's about, for me, it's about the country taking its place. Right now, I don't know if we should have an expectation of success, but I think the country should be in a better place at the moment. 11th to 14th in CONCACAF is not good enough. 101 or 103 in the FIFA ranking is not good enough. We've been way better than that. So we need to improve.
I would definitely agree. So now we come to the Guatemala Jamaica game. So what are your initial thoughts about this matchup?
When you and history, I learned a long time ago that history is only good for memory. So I don't want to go too far into the history other than to say that the Jamaica-Guatemala matchup has gone in the favor of Jamaica more times than not in the past. I think recently, I think Guatemala was able to eke out a 2-1 win or something like that. I think Guatemala, I watched them the other night. I don't know if you saw the game against
Guadeloupe, yes.
Guadeloupe. And I think that Guadeloupe is a very good team. And I thought at one point, they were just going to run away with the game. And there's a couple of things Guatemala have going for them. They play very well in transition. And I think if that's a battle, one would think that it's something that they do very well. So if that's not your style of play and you get caught up in that, that could work to their benefit. And they also have a ridiculous fan base.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looked like every Guatemalan in the US was at that game.
Yeah, every Guatemalan that exists was at that game. And that is, it's really impressive, right?
Yes.
It's really impressive when you see that much. It looked like there was only Guatemalans in the stand, it seems like. And that, I think, played a part in the game as well. When they came back out in the second half, the energy was just, I mean, the fans got involved before the halftime and started, and not, for some, in the wrong way, throwing stuff on the field and that kind of stuff. That's ugly. But they got involved, they raised the temperature, they got the team excited, and it was a very good performance. So I think Jamaica has to be careful. Jamaica has a very good team. I think probably very impressive goal count in the knockout stage. Scored 10 goals, I think, and conceded 2. One of the best defensive record and goal scoring record, despite the concern about the defense. So it could be. There's 2 things could happen. Jamaica could run away with the game, but the game could be very, very. The big game could be very, very close.
So what I noticed when I watched the Guatemala-Guadeloupe game is that they keep the ball well, right? But sometimes you keep the ball well because the pressure is not what it should be.
Right.
I thought Guadeloupe missed some really easy chances. There was especially one in the second half with the left winger, where he went down and didn't know what he wanted to do.
Right.
Should I go in and go? Should I cross it? And he ended up doing something which negated what he was trying to accomplish, which was very disappointing, actually. So, and then Guatemala got more, as you said, they got more comfortable as the game progressed. They got more confident. The crowd got into it. Because when Guadeloupe went up 2-1, and the crowd started throwing, bottles on the field and being unruly, frankly, you thought Guadeloupe would just take it from there and run away with the game, but that was not the case. So you're right. If we don't take our chances, or don't play with composure, especially given the attendance at the game that they'll have, because they'll all be at the game, by the way. Right. They're going to travel. They travel with their teams, no matter where they are. They travel.
Yeah, they're going to be there for sure. Their presence in the stand, they're not just there. They're present. They're making their presence known, and they support the team. I mean, it's really impressive. It's really impressive, and that would certainly add something to the game. I don't know that Jamaica would match that type of fan support in the stands.
We don't love it that much. We don't. There's a different level of engagement with the football, with like South American, Central American countries than we are, right? We love it when we're winning, and even then we're not traveling. We're not going the extra effort to go to the game. Not everyone, but most are not. Because I bet with the Guatemalan people, they're probably expending a lot of resources to just try to go attend the game, between hotel fee, between transportation, between food. Yeah, they're expending resources that they may not have, frankly. But they're going to get to the game. They're going to get to the game some way, shape, or form. We're not making that extra effort to get there.
And that's the emotional part of it, right? They're doing it. It is the emotion, as you said. Whether they have the money or not, they're going to make it happen. It happened every week in England, in Europe, where guys work when the week come, and the first thing they do is they purchase the game, the ticket to the game, the transport before they do anything else. So that's the emotional piece of it, and that leads to the revenue. So
right,
it's going to be. I have not heard that there's any injury or anything of the sort in the Jamaican camp. Seems as though everybody is healthy.
Yes, I haven't heard of any injuries also. So we're consistent in that perspective.
So that's a good thing. I listened to the press conference today, and what I would say is that obviously you go to these tournaments and a lot of things happen, and as a coach, as a leader, you can choose to make them a distraction, or you could lead and focus on why you're there. And I think you listen to the coach, and I think in this moment you would agree that he's showing tremendous leadership in terms of how he deals with whatever obstacles is in the way. You know, he kind of alluded to some things, but he just mentioned it and he moved on and decided
Right.
that they're going to focus on the job in hand. So that's helpful as well.
Well, I think for Caribbean football teams, there's always something on the side happening. There's always something happening. Look, if Canada is having problems, you don't hear as much about Latin America because we don't speak the language and we're not following them as closely. But you hear a lot of things happen with Canada and the challenges they're having. So we should be shocked about our challenges. It's always come back to resources and capability, right? Always about resource and capability, and we don't do that really, really well. So if he's alluding to something in a press conference, then things may be going well in terms of performance in the field, but he may not be totally happy with everything that's happening.
Yeah, I think it was directed at CONCACAF and maybe what he suggested is that everybody's not getting the same treatment, everybody's not getting the same resources, and he made the statement that there's a lot of work to do if the if the World Cup.
I know they were supposed to be in California. They were supposed to be in California for a while, and they moved them quickly.
Right.
So since they disrupted their travel plans and the planning they had made about when to be where, which didn't work out well for them. So they had them rush to go from where they were in California to where they are now, and that must not have been digested well. And he's right. That's not unique to us, where the larger nations get the preferential treatment, right?
Yeah, and you made the point that this would never happen, like in the Euros tournament, some tournament that he coached in. Said it would never happen. Right. That some teams would be treated different to others. But as you said, that is something that happens in the region, and we accustomed to that, right? So
yeah, but, I think the Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You see.
I think the Caribbean has to do better, though. And I said the Caribbean, which is we have a block of votes. Right. In a lot of different organizations, people vote as a block. In New York, for example, a city community voted as a block. So any mayor that comes in, they know they have to answer to them because it's one vote. If it's 1 million people, it's one vote. They are voting the same way. The Caribbean, if they want to have effect change in CONCACAF and have parity and have equality and an egalitarian system, they have to make sure they vote as a block to get what they want. Right. And if you don't, then you're always going to be mistreated. And we haven't really learned how to do that, or we haven't organized ourselves to operate that way.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, when you look around, you look at transportation around the region and things like that. Those are things that would only be solved if the region is able to work together, right?
Yes.
But you're seeing progress in the football. You're seeing some countries having, there was a big ceremony recently about, not a ceremony, but a welcome home party for the St. Kitts and Nevis team. And, they came last in the group stage. And for them, though, just getting to the Gold Cup, that was their goal. So they achieved their goal. It was planned, it was strategic, and so you could understand that. But they have a very small population of about 60,000 people. So to get to the World Cup and not the World Cup, but the Gold Cup, to get to the Gold Cup was a tremendous achievement for them. But tomorrow, what are your thoughts? What do you think is gonna take place?
I think Jamaica is very confident. I think our record against Guatemala has been pretty good. I think probably 16 wins to 10 or something of that nature. Whatever the number is.
I think it's 16 wins to 4 ties and 4 draws or something like that.
Yeah, we probably have about 10 losses to them or something like that. But so we're confident. We're also confident because the team is playing better and better and better, right? If you look at the team that we have at each position, because we all went to the tournament with the view that the midfield needed to be enhanced. Right. But I think Lati and Lambert have played well, and therefore has helped to alleviate some of those concerns. If we take a step back and just think about the teams in totality, Guatemala is going to try to possess the ball. We think we have athletes, and obviously we have the front four. But as you mentioned, which hasn't necessarily been talked about enough, we scored a lot of goals. We have only given up 2 goals. Granted, the U.S. did miss some chance against us, but Trinidad created 1 chance against us and scored. St. Kitts created a couple of chances they didn't score. U.S. probably created about 3 or 4 and scored 1. And even that one wasn't really a chance, it was a ricochet. So defensively, we have played well. And I think where we have enhanced ourselves defensively also is we've now brought in Deshaun Bernard for Mariappa, which I expect to be maintained going forward. He's much more athletic. He also gets in the box, which is shocking for a centre-half. I'm not sure how that works. But he finds himself in certain forward positions sometimes as a central defender. And he's very athletic. He's very aggressive. And Lowe comes back into the team, given that he had a 2 yellow previously. And Lembekisi and our left back are playing well. Amari Bell are playing well. So if the front four produces, and they, by the way, they didn't score the last game, which people don't seem to realize. They didn't score in the last game against St. Kitts.
Against who didn't score in the last game?
The front four didn't score.
Front four didn't score, right? Yeah.
No. And Antonio hasn't scored our tournament, and we're 3 games in, even though he's played well, right? So you do realize you need to more than the forwards into scoring, but he has played well. But the front four didn't score, and we still won by, 5? So that bodes well for the team, actually.
Right. Yeah. That's very good.
That bodes well for the team. Yeah.
That's very good. There's a lot of people scoring goals. And maybe in that game, he probably should have get a couple more, but if the front four didn't score and he still managed to score 5 goals, that means goals could come from a lot of places. And I think Lowe is an important piece of the puzzle against the likes of Guatemala and others, because he's physically very strong and he's a good player. So with everybody available, I think if Jamaica doesn't control the game, meaning have majority of the possession and play the game at the pace they want to play it at. If Jamaica is unable to do that, then most likely it's going to play into the Guatemala's hand. Guatemala love to play in transition. And they're going to fight you. They're going to duel. They're not going to back down from that. So I think we can see a very good competitive game. And of course, it's football, right? And we don't know what's going on in the Guatemalan camp, but if everybody is available, everybody's healthy, and they're up for the game with their fans and everything else, it could be an interesting match. And funny enough, before you say that, I don't. Every time the conversation happens about, well, the last 4 times we played them, we won. But what's the next logical thing to happen, right? So we got to be careful with that, right?
Well, I don't think any Jamaican is thinking about losing. In fact, they're thinking about what's going to be the score. Yeah. Now, when we played St. Kitts, we've been hearing 10 and 12 and all sort of domino plus scores, and that didn't materialize. So I do think we have to respect our opponent. I do think on paper, we're the better team, but the game is played on the field, not on paper. But I would expect us to play well, actually. I do think as the tournament progresses, the familiarity is building amongst the team, the camaraderie is building. They're working, they're associating off the field, as Lambert mentioned in the press conference. And on the field, it helps with that chemistry and that association. So I would expect that Jamaica is going in very confident. And if they play well, if we play well, and most importantly, take our chances, we should win. I did think about that. Guadeloupe, frankly, should have won the game. It got away from them in the second half. And I think Jamaica is probably better than Guadeloupe, frankly. And sometimes styles make fights, so we can always try to equate the two and say, well, because Guadeloupe played better than Guatemala for a good portion of the game, and because we think we're better than Guadeloupe, then we're going to win the game. That doesn't necessarily work like that. But I think we play up to our ability. We should win it.
Look, the at the end of the day, if you go through the Guatemalan squad, I think with the exception of one person who plays in the MLS, I think everybody plays, at home or somewhere in the CONCACAF area in Central or South America. So that's an interesting bit for the they won the group. They won the group, and I think, by the way, an interesting piece. While you all were busy taking players from Europe, Nathaniel Mendez, who plays for Guatemala, I learned that his dad is Jamaican.
Why am I not surprised? Jamaica they do a good job of populating the world. So they're not partial to nationalities, so that's not shocking.
So that's one that slipped through right under your nose here,
Yes.
But
yeah,
look, the game is the game have to be played. I keep saying that. I keep saying, you can't. The game has to be played. So, and as a result of that, it could go anyway. But when you look at what they have done, they've won the group. They haven't scored a lot of goals. They just scored about 4 goals, I think, and they conceded 2. So which shows that they've been defending very good as well. And I think the game is going to be close.
Well, I mean, they played Canada, they played Guadeloupe in that zone, right? Who are 2 good teams, and they came out on top of the zone, which says a lot for them actually, and would only have to boost their confidence. So I hear Tennessee Lewis saying that that he wanted to play for Jamaica also. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. just you stop all football in Jamaica. There's no need for any football in Jamaica.
Well, that won't go away. That whole local versus overseas, it's only going to exacerbate or get larger because more are coming. If I heard Gray's interview right, and he was talking about coming almost like a package with others, and he has a number of them that played for Everton where he played. More coming, so we'll hear that argument at a perspective. But you know what? If we win the Gold Cup, people will be encouraged by the outcome, and outcome would influence their behavior and their perspective versus saying, you know what, it's local versus XYZ, and we have too many overseas-born players. I don't think it would matter actually if we win or even get to the final, frankly.
Well, I think everything is a cycle, right, in football, and I think it's going to get to the point where, there's a pro league in Jamaica, and the club owners are going to have a look at it and see how it's affecting their investment, their ability to get players exposure and that kind of stuff. And there's going to be a conversation about that. And, depend on who's in charge, some of that could switch. So for the time being, it's looking good. It's looking
a number of Jamaican players are getting overseas contracts, not in the bigger leagues, right? Apart from you see Whisper going to Chelsea. But they're getting contracts overseas, and some of them play for the national team or just had a few caps for the national team. So you would have more of that. The question for the country is, how do I leverage in totality all the resources at my disposal to help uplift the program? So what do I mean by that? So for example, we have a number of Premier League players who are playing in the team that will bring more visibility to the team by default. So how do I may have a few players who are in the team who can get to be on show and get that public perspective on their performance? And not only that, actually, and probably we should be thinking about how you rotate players through the team who may not be at the same ilk and capabilities as some of the better players, but have them as part of the program, let them learn how these players operate, professionalism, things of that nature, but also be a referral, right? If I know someone, they think I'm good enough, they may refer me to my club or to a feeder club. That may also be an avenue that which players get exposure. So how you think about, in totality, everything that informs my program and leverage all of those things at my disposal to help uplift my program. I think that's something that the JFF needs to consider and the players themselves need to consider. And how do I bring back some of those players to run camps in Jamaica, for example, right? Or contribute to local football, even though most time what they come for is just to play for the national team. How do I incorporate them into the program versus they just play and then go back home? Right. How do I make them be part of the DNA versus it's one-off situation that they're involved
in? Yeah, I think if Jamaica could find a way to make those players, part of the fabric of Jamaican football, and the public get to know them and they know their contribution to the game, then I think it's going to be a no-brainer. But there's always going to be a portion of the fan base who's going to be talking about the local players and their inability. It doesn't matter to them whether or not the players are up to the level. I don't know that the national team is, while it could provide exposure, I don't know that the national team have the responsibility for getting players contract. I think players need to play with the club, perform, find opportunities elsewhere, and then the national team become an option, right? Versus the other way around. Right. So it's going to. Yes. I think it's going to go in cycle. It's going to have a cycle and then see where it goes after that.
What has been good about this tournament is every single player have got minutes so far, right? Obviously, it gets less and less as the tournament progresses. Every player's got minutes, and most of them have gotten substantive minutes. Mm-hmm. So apart from maybe the third string goalkeeper, most have played maybe a half of football. Frankly, that's in the team, which is great for those players, right? Mm-hmm. And will help to build that sense of I'm part of the team. Because sometimes you're part of a team and you don't play any minutes, you don't feel like you're part of the team. You're just there in attendance. So they all have had a chance to go on the field and get a feeling for the Gold Cup, mm-hmm. which obviously that's afforded when you have done well in your group. As you go through the quarterfinals and semifinal stages, that becomes less and less. Right. But I think it does build a lot of camaraderie amongst the team when you can play everyone. And people will leave with a good taste in their mouth, actually, when the tournament is completed. Because you don't have to get your 3 goalkeepers in the game at some point. Maybe 2 get in, maybe 1 get in.
Right.
And I think some of the local players like Blake and Lowe and Lambert have played well. Some others, like a Paris, for example, and Nicholson, even though Burke scored, I don't think have really taken your chances, right? You've played with a bunch of Premier League players. You want to show you're on the same level. You've gotten a chance to prove yourself and show it. And even against lesser teams, but you still haven't shown that. And that's a missed opportunity on their part.
Well, I think that it probably needs to happen earlier, though, when the under 17, under 20s go participate in these tournaments. CONCACAF tournaments, World Cup qualifiers. I think that's the moment for the young talent to expose themselves and try to attract the attention of clubs elsewhere. When you look, when I look at Trinidad, the 2 tournaments they played, under 17 and under 20, I don't know of anyone that got a contract to go anywhere, right? And I think that's where it's supposed to happen. That's the most, because you have the age that people are interested in players. So maybe they see you at under 17 and they see you again at under 20. You're 18 years old, 19 years old, and they can have you. So when that is not happening, then there's a problem.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the message you sent me the other day with Edwards from Arsenal, the forward from Arsenal.
Yeah.
Who was saying he's applying for his passport, and I'm thinking we're probably going to have a whole population applying for a passport. Because he's saying Hutchinson, as you know, who's on the Chelsea books, is pressuring him to be part of the program. He's just 20, and Hutchinson is probably a similar age. So even the younger ones, frankly, are now excited about being part of the program. Because what he said was interesting about, it's like to play for England, but you have to go back to your roots, and you get more acclaim and more recognition and more laudatory comments about you as a person, your performance, than you would if you played for England. So they're thinking more of going back to their home country or their roots or what their parents are from and playing for such country, even though they may have an opportunity in the long term to play for England, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, it probably should be. the roots of your parents should be your first choice. Like I was listening to a conversation one time, and I can't remember who it was, but was putting Michael Antonio on a pedestal for making that decision as a pioneer of for players coming and play for Jamaica. But I think there's other people over the years in other parts of the region that made that decision and didn't even consider elsewhere. So that's probably the way it should be, in my opinion, because I think the bigger countries are always going to have talent. They have resources. They have, and look, there's a business side for it, right? Man says that if his son has a chance to play for America or Jamaica, he'd play for America.
I think management misspoke.
Well, I mean, I understand his argument, because if his son, well, at least maybe in the moment that Jamaica, and that could be different. But if your son puts on an American shirt at 17 or 16, he has way more opportunities than if he put on a shirt from the region. So it would make sense. It would make sense from an opportunity perspective, and nobody can be mad at him for that. That's his son. You know what I mean? That's his son. And trying to tell him what to do with his son is so it's an interesting one, and we're gonna see how it plays itself out. But in the moment, it looks very good. It looks very, very good.
Yeah, and I do think we're gonna have some challenges though if more players come in, because resources are not infinite, right? And to fly a person business class from Europe to the US is not cheap, or to Jamaica is not cheap. In fact, it's far from being cheap. So we'll see how that works going forward. Think about it. You're flying 15 people to Jamaica, 3,500 a pop. That's probably your budget so far.
Yeah.
And they come here, you got to fly them private jet to wherever they're going to play.
You're going to have to raise more money. You're going to have to raise more money. No,
Ultra will be with you soon. Ultra will be with you soon.
At the end of the day, I think if the Jamaican team is winning, and we've seen it in this moment, if the Jamaican team is winning, I think the fans are happy. The fans are happy. You can see the landscape is different right now. There's not much complaints. You probably might hear a complaint or two about the women's team. So, and that's what matters in the end. So maybe that changes tomorrow. I don't know if it's up to but it, it's football. Football is a very emotional game, and you can't take that away from the game. If you take that away from the game, you don't have anything. So it's close game. Did you consider a starting lineup?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. I want to send Catherine the link. I can't find it. You can send it to him. Maybe we can send it to him. He wants to join. Yeah, I have to control him though, because you know how he is.
Yeah.
I have to control when he comes on. You have to manage him, because he's gonna be overly excited.
All right.
But we get to the link to you, Catherine. Have I considered a starting lineup? Of course, I've considered a starting lineup. In fact, I'm gonna add my starting lineup immediately.
Add your starting lineup.
To the stream. This is my starting lineup.
I'm sending.
Wait, but I'm putting the wrong thing on there. I had my starting lineup. I'm not sure what happened to it.
It was there.
I had my starting lineup. I have no idea what I did with it now. Okay, I'll bring my starting lineup.
Maybe you get scared with the prediction.
No, can't be scared. We have a good team. We're in a good place.
Yeah, very good place.
There is no reason for us to be scared. None.
Very good place.
I'm gonna put my starting lineup on here. I'm not sure what I did with it. I'm not sure. I'm not finding my starting lineup. I had it.
It was there, and it just disappeared.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it back up. But in the meantime, so we can send Catherine the links. Oh, here he is.
Yeah.
So we can take a break now for about an hour.
Yeah.
We can take a break
Well,
for an hour. So
we don't have that
I
much
can go off
time.
the camera and we take a break for an hour so you can have the floor, because I know it's very difficult for him not to speak have his normal soliloquy. So yeah.
Well, we don't have an hour, so could you turn your phone sideways, Cataract? Landscape.
So whatever you have to say now, Andre, please say. Andre, whatever you have to say, please say.
The phone stays straight. Everything straight.
No,
Nothing sideways. The only thing sideways,
Okay.
the only thing sideways will be the Guatemala keeper tomorrow diving. That's the only thing sideways.
Andre? Yeah. So no, turn your phone landscape, since you don't understand sideways. Put it landscape.
Oh Lord of His mercy. Okay, fine.
We're not the Lord. Don't call us Lord of His mercy. We're not the Lord. Oh no, don't put it back. Put it back vertical, because right now you don't know how to do landscape and be in the picture.
You could do it from the software. You can put it landscape.
He doesn't know how to do that.
You look more handsome too when it goes landscape.
Don't tell him that. It's that. Please don't tell him that. He's gonna actually believe you. I'm trying to bring this. I'm not sure why.
I think he's getting some technical help here.
He's having technical difficulties.
Well, he's getting some expertise. He's getting some expert help. It looked like.
No, put out the wrong thing. Let me take this out.
Yeah, you had it. It was down there.
I had it. It disappeared. I'm not sure why it disappeared. I'm gonna pull it up though. While Cataract is speaking, I'll have time. When Cataract, get off mute. Start speaking.
Yes,
so I can do some background work.
That's
go on your soliloquy. It is now 5:12. You should be done by 5:30. So the floor is yours.
Cataract, what say you?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Big up all the ultras. What's this thing you guys got me doing? Right. Andre, you are alive.
Hold on. You are too close to the phone. We've seen part of your face. You gotta
close to the phone.
Yeah,
we're seeing all of your face. Which
you gotta back away a little bit. That's good. That's good, right?
Hold on. You hold on. I've got everything here. I've got lots of angels and angelettes and things.
The fresh guy taught you to figure it out.
No.
Go on, Cataract. I'm gonna remove this.
Okay. Anyway, until my trusted peoples, it's all here. It's all here. You know.
We can hear when you're speaking. We don't have to see you, but you can try to fix it. You speak while you're fixing your camera.
That's why the ladies love Cataract and Cataract love the ladies. So here we go. Good afternoon, Stan Cronky. Good afternoon, Stan Cronky. I'm going to jump off. It's in about 24 hours. It should all be kicking off.
Yes.
Positive about my team, the Jamaica Reggae Boys, out there in Cincinnati. Unfortunately, the oligarch can't be there for this one. But I'll be there for the finals, though. I'll be there for the finals.
Regardless of who's playing?
The Reggae Boys, regardless of whoever the Reggae Boys are playing. I'm telling you now, the Jamaica senior men's team, the cup of forward a yard. No question. So I'll be out there. I have to sit this one out. Really because of the madness of flying up and down, but let's not get into that. Coach Hallgrimson spoke on my behalf earlier today, as I had complained to him, and he has said it. You know, the logistics and these things would not have happened in the European Euros, you know. But looking for a good game tomorrow. I try to not to listen to some of the noise that I hear everywhere, but I see a lot of people talking up the Guatemalans, and again, the Guatemalans are Jamaica's whipping boys, man. We whip them regularly. Panama is our bogey team, but all of a sudden people are getting scared. So it's a good matchup, one that we have a fairly good track record against. You know, if we could have picked our opponent, it would have been this opponent. I don't, even though Canada is not coming off of a high in the group stage, I think we would have wanted to avoid the banana skin of Canada in the quarterfinals. So you have to play the teams in front of you to win, don't you, Andre? But with no reports of injuries, and the spirit and mood high in the camp, I am optimistic.
Are you aware whether Ethan has ever joined the squad?
No, Ethan is with his wife.
Okay.
I think I heard he's in training at Brentford, isn't he?
Yeah, he went to train at Brentford. But we will discuss those matters at another occasion. Because we've been sympathetic towards Rupert, the man known as the Man Mountain. But in this Jamaican team and the way things are shaping up, if you move, you lose. You can get huffed for not eating, if those who play drafts. So Dijon Bernard, aka Blacks, has come in and built himself into the role at centre-back. We would like to have a natural left-footed centre-back, and there's no doubt that Ethan Pinnock is an elite centre-back as far as the Premier League and the world is concerned. So he'll be missed. But all that happens is that it makes it more competitive. But next man up, what say you, Stan?
No, I agree with that concept, actually. I think what we need in the team, because, you know, historically at Cataract, we have had this dialogue about commitment and all that, and the fact that sometimes some people don't turn up for certain games. And sometimes it's not a commitment issue, but sometimes it is, frankly, and we shouldn't shy away from it. So if you have a team where there is competition for places, then people will consider, when they make decisions, the implications to them in the team. So if we bring in quality players, and each position is up for grabs, then it changes the dynamics about how people approach the national team. And you heard me, I'd asked the question in one of the press conferences around, what's the JFF doing to make it easy for players, not to attend every single window, but at least it's mandatory for you to attend, say, 3 out of 5 windows in a given year, for example, right? They got to figure out a way to do it, because sometimes it's very difficult to fly 9.5 hours when you have other considerations where you reside, given the distance between the UK and here, which is where we source most of our players. So I do believe, look, Ethan is a unique situation, some family issues, and family come first, no matter what anyone says. And I'd said this publicly, that if he came, I would be disappointed, given what I heard the situation was, because then he would put football in front of his family. But my hope is that in future windows, everyone will be available and be able to attend. But Cataract, I mentioned this to Andre previously when we were speaking, which is, it's going to become challenging for the JFF to fund if we bring in more players. Not that we shouldn't, don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating that we shouldn't, but if you bring in 15, 20 players, it does become expensive, doesn't it? So we've got to figure out a way to generate the resources to be able to, because what would happen is, if you bring better players and you win more, you generate revenues to be able to pay some of those expenses.
I won't even dignify that with an answer. The JFF has funds when it's necessary. They could have flown the General Secretary and the President over to Leicester to quell the rebelling ladies. They could have flown Tyreek Jimenez over to Catalonia on a moment's notice, and they've flown players from Jamaica to Austria. Come on, hogwash. The best 23 must be selected, and the best 11 that the coach deems fit must take the field. That's how it must be.
I think you're missing my point, Ketara.
No, and I'm saying to you that we can afford 23 elite players if they all play in the Premier League. Suppose Jamaica gets into the top 50 And then our main people like Andre Blake, Damian Lowe, they get into the Premier League. What, we're going to leave them out because we can't fly people here? Look at the flight. It's the money is received from winning the Gold Cup, and the participatory fees that we get more than cover airfare. You can't get for that.
Right. Look, I haven't seen the recent financials, but I see the last of the financials that were public. They were ugly. Now, they never tell you about how they made money in a given year. Don't look at the income statement. Look at the balance sheet. They were ugly. Now, hopefully, with the Adidas money and other money they get from this competition, they will improve. But the financials weren't pretty. And people have this misconception that they think they understand numbers. They don't sometimes. The numbers I saw the last time I looked at the financials were ugly. And there's a big difference between what I make in a given year versus how much I may owe on a long-term basis. But I think one day we should actually sit people down and walk them through the financials so they can understand. Well, when they publish them, because somehow they take forever to publish them, maybe we can walk them through what those financials look like, what the numbers really mean, and what the implication is for the JFF in terms of where their financial situation is. But I'm not sure they're as well-financed as one may think they are.
But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, as you call it. But let me just say this, Andre. This might exclude you at the moment, but it seems that the only time we talk about the cost is flying a player from England to come and play in CONCACAF. But we have absolutely no problem if we fly a local team of domestic players from Jamaica to Cameroon. They all of a sudden, cost is not a factor.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. That's a fair
right.
point.
So I'm saying that we can afford this.
I think
we can't afford a couple other things, but we can afford this.
Could I
right?
suggest?
And go ahead.
Could I suggest something? Each situation is different, though. In fairness to the MAs, going to Cameroon, it might have been that it was paid for by that FA, right? Yep. So I think we got to take all of those things into consideration as far as the resources is concerned. Look, at the end of the day, one of the things that I see in the region is that the game is not an industry as yet, right? There's not revenue being generated in the same way as it's been generated here in America and other parts of the world. And that's the area that we need to fix, because if you're going to bring these type of players in, they're accustomed to the best. So you got to have revenue to be able to deal with them. And I don't think that the prize money for winning the Gold Cup or anything like that is enough because when you think the players are going to have to be compensated, right? Most times you win a tournament, you win a league, and it may cost you more to participate. I don't know. Go ahead.
So that we can move on to the game, I'll just say this. FIFA covers the cost of the participation. FIFA, CONCACAF. Uh-huh. They pay for accommodation. They pay for the flights.
Right.
The moving between cities. All of those are covered by CONCACAF, right? So we don't have to debate that. We can have our best 11 players or best 23, whether they are 23 domestic players. If they are the best, they must play. If there are 23 players in Iceland, they must come represent Jamaica. And I am ready to talk about the game tomorrow.
So talk about the game. Let's move to the game.
Last point before you go, also take into consideration that the players get a per diem. For some teams, it's $200 a day for some teams. And then there's a cost for every game that they win, which sometimes could be, depends on the agreement, could be a couple of $2,000, $3,000 before they go in the tournament. So at the end of the day, there's cost. I'm not defending the MAs by any means because I'm on the player side of things. But every situation is different. But let's go on to the game tomorrow. Let's see if Jamaica could get past. Conky, look at this expression. Look at his expression in his face. I said it just for that, just to see that cataract. That's all I wanted to see.
Your choice of adverb. Your choice of adverb begs the question. First of all, Stan, Cronky, and myself, Manning's man, we spoke recently, and we've invited you on this program based on your footballing acumen. Because you're not a team left in this competition.
Yeah,
Who are home
we're not going down a rabbit hole. This is not about
to
Andre.
matter. So
This is not
please,
about
Andre, just focus on the big boys.
I thought
This is where we bamba with the big boys. Jamaica versus Guatemala, USA versus Canada. The all kicks off in Cincinnati tomorrow. The USA is going to beat Canada. That's all I have to say on that first match. But you guys can break that down if you want to.
No, we won't break it down. I think Canada didn't. Both teams are using not their best teams, and obviously the US has an abundance of players. They can put 4 teams on the field and still compete. Canada is having internal problems plus problems on the field, but they didn't win their zone.
Yeah, came second.
They have a lot of problems.
What internal problems?
I haven't been reading about Canada that they have money problems and
they have money problems.
FA. Yes.
Yeah, they have plastic money. What kind of money problems they have? They have
$5 million a year, and they still. You have Minister Canada's women's team and Canada's men's team. How much problem they're having? They're having problems with the FA. They're having problems with the FA, even though they're a rich country. They're having problems with the FA.
Yeah, something is wrong.
That's been in the news quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, I read about that. They having issues.
Yeah, but having said that, they didn't win their zone, so that's why we're playing Guatemala, right?
But the US, is a team that they would always get up for, right? So
yeah,
that game,
I expect them to play well, but I'm not. I think the US is really strong, actually, and they're playing well. They're playing as a team. They're going to be difficult to beat. I'm not sure Canada's as potent. When they have their full squad, they're a much more potent team. This team they have is not as potent, right, as their normal first 11. And was reflected in the first round of play because they struggled. They struggled in the first round. They beat Cuba handily, but they didn't beat Guadeloupe, they didn't beat Guatemala. So they struggled in the first round. But Cataract, I should say this about Cataract. Whenever the Reggae Boys play, and if Cataract has a certain number of overseas players in his team, he believes he's going to beat Brazil and Argentina if they pick a combined 11. Okay? That's Cataract.
Nonsense.
They pick the best from both teams, he's going to beat them. That's Cataract.
Nonsense. When we played Argentina in New Jersey, I did say I expect the Reggae Boys to be defeated. I did not expect them to be embarrassed. And they made me proud. They stood up and held close to the soon-to-be crowned world champions until a gentleman by the name of Lionel Messi took the field. Now, I put it to you that if that had been Trinidad and Tobago,
we're not talking about Trinidad and Tobago. We're talking about Jamaica. We're not talking about Trinidad and Tobago.
Please, it's not. I don't get hyped all the time. I am cogent, sober, on my medications, and I'm telling you this: Guatemala, we are gonna whap them and slap them. Next.
So what score are you predicting?
What score am I predicting? I think Mikel Antonio enters the tournament tomorrow. Anything the boss wants to score, that's what the score will be.
Well, that's not.
You generally don't have large score lines in knockout games because teams are playing carefully and trying not to lose. So they take less risks. But anytime them open up, anytime Guatemala feel them icy and feel like them want to go for the game, we're going to hit you and hit you hard. So I don't think we're going to run over them as the game opens up, but I believe as they begin to chase the game and try and get a result, Jamaica, through our potent front line, will punish them. I also believe, looking at the Jamaican team, that we only really have now kind of one area of weakness, and I would be concerned about. I know the Guatemalan left wing seems to be a decent player. So a lot will rest on the shoulders of young Dexter Lembekisi. And tomorrow he'll become a man, but so he will throughout the remainder of this tournament. Because when we meet the United States in the finals, it will be a different United States. than we met in the first round. They'll be up for it.
Let me ask you a question before you go on. Do you think that if the game is played in transition, do you think it will work in Jamaica's favor or Guatemala's favor?
I don't understand all those fancy terms.
Okay.
I'm an ultra.
If the game is open,
you don't have open games in knockout rounds. That's not how world football goes. It's a cagey affair as teams try not to make a mistake.
I'm not sure I totally agree with that. There's counter-attacking, so they're both going to play the same style. They both play the same style, actually. It's counter-attacking football, and the question is, who's going to have more possession? They're going to take more risk, commit more players up front, and leave themselves vulnerable. That's the question.
Yeah, I don't think Guatemala could help it. I think that's their DNA. That's how they play. I don't know that they would sit in and allow Jamaica to do what they want.
And the question for us is, are we going to press, or are we going to start our defense just over half line, like we've done in some games? Or are we going to feel we can turn them over? Because we did the turnover. We played Trinidad that way, actually. We turned over Trinidad around their 18 yards early in the game because we pressed them early, especially with our midfield. The question is, are we going to employ the same strategy in this game? Because they do a better job of keeping the ball than, say, Trinidad does, actually.
And they're not afraid of going in behind either. So I think you listen to the press conference today, and the coach mentality is that it's a good Guatemalan team, and you have to be respectful of them.
Do you realize that that's what the coach said? He even said that about St. Kitts. That's what coaches say. That's like boxers who say, yes, it's a good opponent, it's going to be a good fight. Yes. And then he gets knocked out in the first minute of the first round.
So you don't think he's going to respect
coaches speak. You understand that his coaches speak. No coach that I've ever heard says, this side are idiot side, and we're going to beat them. But they don't say that. That's left to Cataract and the Ultras.
I was going to say, that's Cataract. That's what Cataract says.
Yeah, but Cataract is known for making predictions. And
yes, and I predicted.
Just a few minutes ago, you refused to make a prediction.
No. He's known for making one-sided predictions. All favor his team. He doesn't make. He's not predicting. He's not predicting anything. He says his team's going to win. That's not a prediction.
Which is a bit disappointing.
I am quite capable of making predictions. I said that Trinidad would be whapped and zapped, and you were.
You realize that
I said that St. Kitts would be whapped and zapped. I heard people talking up St. Kitts.
What did you say about the US? What did you say about the US?
What I said about the US? I said we were going to win in a very tight game. It was going to be history. But for 2 minutes, oh dear, nearer to thee, oh Jesus. But it will come. One day it will come. Many rivers to cross. But it will come. It will come in the finals. So I'm saying to you that I expect a cagey game. In these sort of games, you then look for match winners, players who can turn the game on the head. And before I talk about Jamaica, you're talking about players like Italy. You'd have a Del Piero who could put a raking pass from anywhere in the field. You had the Iniesta. In England, I recall when I was coming up, a Paul Gascoigne, a moment of magic and brilliance, a Lionel Messi, if you want to come to these times. And in the same vein and breath that I mentioned Lionel Messi, I'm going to say Demarai Gray.
That's heresy. That's heresy.
Our
I mean, you don't put Demarai Gray and Messi in the same sentence.
Yeah. That is like
in the same sentence after the same comma.
Such hyperbole is not warranted.
Yeah.
You stay where you are.
Demarai Gray, Messi and Demarai Gray
is our Lionel Messi.
How much did Demarai Gray pay you? I know you must have met him when you were in.
How you spell Messi for that?
He just asked me for a selfie. But
that was a Messi comment from the Messi.
Everyone says why.
That's a good one. I say that to say though, but we have players. Andre Blake is our Martinez. you know, keeps a clean, can keep a clean sheet when necessary. Excellent shot stopper. Seems to be listening to the coach now about his ball distribution. So things are looking up, right?
Yeah, I think
Things are
Andre
looking
Blake
up.
is a very good goalkeeper, actually. I can play at a higher level, frankly, than he plays, but he's probably comfortable where he is. But I think he's a good enough goalkeeper to play at a high level.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I
What's
think
your thought about Andre? I want to hear
Yeah,
Andre's thoughts.
I think he's proven to be a very good goalkeeper. He's performed very well in the MLS, and I'm sure if he put himself out there, he could move on. But I also think he might be quite happy where he is. He lives in Philadelphia. He has a good life. He's getting paid well. He may not want to disrupt that. You know, it's easier for him to get to Jamaica from Philadelphia to Jamaica than if he go further away. So at his age right now, he might just be happy where he is.
That is true. Yeah, you can't beat people being comfortable like them.
I want to say this: the two players who have, or three players who have, just while I was there, for the games that I was there, seemed to be zero, laser focused on winning this Gold Cup. Others are desirous of, but I'm talking about laser focus. Mikel Antonio and Andre Blake, it's as if their life depends on winning this Gold Cup. I can't recall, apart from Andre Blake played the piano and the gospel and thing, in there amongst the piano, entertaining the guests. It's very good pianist actually. But I can't even remember I have not seen them even go to buy ice cement. It's all about winning the Gold Cup, the focus. And I think having been raked over the coals after the Netflix series, I think he might have looked into himself, and I certainly see a different sort of captain. And I wish him well. I hope that he's able to hoist the Gold Cup aloft. But the two of them, I mean, man is there. Easy to comment. Other people are there. Kerry and other people, they can tell you if what I'm detecting is not there. But I mean, there's no joke. No joke. No.
Who's the third player?
Pardon me? Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey.
So what effect do you think? I watched the other night Guatemala game in New Jersey, and it looked like the stadium only had Guatemalan fans, thousands of them. What effect do you think that would have on the game?
None whatsoever. But I'm glad you raised that matter.
Are you serious? You don't think it would have any effect on the game?
None whatsoever.
Okay. Go on.
Abre la boca. Close your mouth. That's the only thing that will happen. They'll have to close their mouths when the goals start going. That's all. But you raised a serious issue about the fans, and it would be remiss of me if I don't keep saying what I've been saying before. Stan, you'd recall I've asked on this forum where we share and sometime on Coaches Desk where we are panelists about the sort of lax nature of CONCACAF and the safety and treatment of football fans. And I'm asking again, what is the arrangement for the separation of away and home fans, or the two sets of fans in this case, in keeping with normal safety protocols that have been established for a couple of decades now, where you don't have two sets of opposing fans just mixing and mingling, in particular when knockouts are on the line? But I mean, are you comfortable with it, Stan? Are you comfortable with it, Andre? Because I am totally uncomfortable.
So in the US, there's normally less confrontation at games, right? But you realize in a game that Mexico played, I forgot who they played, a Mexican fan got stabbed in that game, in the stands, I should say. And you look at how intimidating the Guatemalan fans were, how vociferous they were, how hostile they were, you could see confrontations occurring and situations occurring which would not bode well for the competition or for fans who are there or for the opposing team. So it is somewhat, and Latin American fans, as we know, take the game to a different level, right? They view the game a bit different. So you could see some things happening which are not what you would like to see. So I do agree with you in terms of that needs to be worked out by CONCACAF. Because you're going to have, as we see more prominence for certain teams, it'll become more and more, right? It's going to become more and more. As you go further in the competition, you're going to see a situation where the stakes become higher and the emotions become higher. And it may lead to on situations which are not optimum. So I do think that's something they need to address, actually.
And to elaborate on concrete point, I think they will address it. I think the game here does not have the same emotion as in Latin America or in Europe. Some of the, there's no ultras in football here. So,
but Andre, when Guatemala scored the second goal, they were raining them with all sort of.
No. But I'm talking about in America.
In the stands, you don't have it in the US. We agree with that.
There is Sam's Army, and they are the American Outlaws.
Right, but
there are two groups of ultras. They sit on either side of the goal.
They're not as confrontational.
Yeah, they don't descend to that type of behavior like that. But it's
not the same level. It's not the same level.
It's not the same level, and the game is growing. And I would expect that they would have a look at it and make some adjustments to try to make sure it doesn't happen.
So what I noticed was a very almost total lack of police presence. Very minuscule amount of police presence. And these games, I believe, I won't be there, but these games, and even in the stands against the US, there was some confrontations. But in the Mexican game, the Mexican fans turned on each other.
Yes.
As the game went on. The stabbing was one incident, but there was about 45 minutes of just continuous fighting in various stages of the stadium. The Cruz Azul fans versus the Atlas fans. At one time, some guys had some Tigres thing. So we have to pay attention. Our CONCACAF has to pay attention to this. And the Gold Cup can't be a laissez-faire thing, because we don't want our game to be sullied by an outbreak in hooliganism and fan violence.
We don't want to bring Europe's fan behavior to the US. That's what you're saying.
But they have quite a few European fans who come to follow the Reggae Boys.
Yeah, but they're not. It's the more normalized fans. It's not the ones who are trying to create mayhem. They're not trying to create mayhem.
There has been some conversation about the Gold Cup and other competitions being held only in America, and some people have been suggesting that it should be held elsewhere. So what is if it's held in places like Guatemala and those places, what should we expect?
Well, I do think, they have competitions in those regions, right? Some of the more junior competitions play in those countries, but they're trying to give those countries the opportunity to host games. What I would say, though, is that you could host a game, like first round games in Jamaica, for example. Say, for the National Stadium, you're hosting one set of games there. You can host games in Toronto, Canada. You can host games, because it's only a 3-hour flight. It's 3.5-hour flight between New York and Jamaica, right? It takes 5 hours to go to California, for example, from New York. So the distance, it can be a distance issue as to why you can't distribute the games. And you may get the same fan support and the same number of resources to pay for those games and pay for expenses. So I'm not sure why they can't distribute the games throughout the region in a more thoughtful way. It doesn't have to be every single time the tournament's held. You can say, you know what? For this tournament, we're going to do 4 or 5 countries. Next tournament, we do 4 or 5 countries versus all the games being held here. And that's where it goes back to what you and I talked about earlier, Andre, which is what's the Caribbean doing to influence CONCACAF in some of the decision making when they can vote as a bloc to change how things are done?
Yeah, I agree with that because even in a tournament like this, I'm sure with proper planning, Jamaica could host a few games, Trinidad could host a
Of
few games,
course.
and do it well. I
We
think
could host the whole tournament
well,
between jointly between Trinidad and Jamaica, for example. Or you could include Guyana, who has
Trinidad can host it because they have a bunch of stadiums in Trinidad. They have a bunch of stadiums.
But
yeah, but they don't have fans.
But we have to remember that there's revenue involved here. So Trinidad has one stadium that I believe hold about 27,000. I've seen 22, I've seen 27 somewhere. I'm not so sure what the number is, but 20,000 plus. But everything else is around 10,000 or 12,000 or 2,500. So that right there. No, you could always add to those facilities for an event. You could always add and increase the capacity. But from CONCACAF's perspective, the US has it in place already, so we got to look on both sides.
But the stadium we're playing in tomorrow is about 30-something thousand, right? Cincinnati Stadium is 30-something thousand.
Right.
No,
right.
it's 20-something thousand.
26?
In Cincinnati.
Okay.
Right.
It's not a big stadium.
It's not a big stadium.
In Trinidad National Stadium, for sure, you can host one there.
Or you could host a whole round of games, frankly.
Yeah, it was the biggest because they were playing 2 and 3 games a night in Miami in the preliminary rounds, and even in the group stage, at least a couple of games a night in the same facility. What was the biggest capacity in Jamaica?
The national stadium is 30-something thousand.
Wow.
Yeah. On record, and we can go up to 40,000 with people sitting on the fence. And
the hooligans sitting on the fence, and ultras on the fence.
The hooligans are sitting on the fence, but they also putting seating on the cycle track, which adds another 4,000 or so. They say.
But somebody from the region, CFU, whoever is representing the region at CONCACAF, they need to be having these conversations, right?
Yeah.
You know what, Andre and Ketera, it's amazing, frankly, that this hasn't been done. Take a step back. So the US is playing at home every single CONCACAF tournament, right? We understand money is a driver, but you're not going to lose that much revenue if you play certain games in certain regions. You're just not. Because when we went to Florida, for example, Ketera, there was nobody at the games.
No. It was empty.
Whole set of rounds, a whole 3 rounds of games, there was nobody at the games. Literally.
And the cost of, for example, hotels are cheaper in Jamaica than it is in and Trinidad than it is in Chicago.
Yep.
So it's a good question to ask. But we are in Cincinnati, Ohio tomorrow, the home of Cincinnati FC. It's clear that there will be at least one Jamaican fan in the stand in Alvas Powell. And Alvas cheer on a team. And I see you put up a starting 11.
Yeah, Kyle just joined us. Welcome, Kyle.
Hi guys, what's up?
What's up, man?
How are you doing?
So Kyle, you're in Cincinnati already, brother?
No, man, I couldn't met this one. I think Neo going though.
I thought about going, I was gonna drive.
Tell Neo not to take his son to that game.
Why?
Yeah.
I joke you not. I believe that these games are going to be particularly heated, especially if by chance it turns out to be a lopsided game. There's a lot of liquor, a lot of liquor consumed before, during, and after the game. But it's not going to be the sort of pitter-patter thing that was in Chicago. It isn't. Or in St. Louis, because they were like 2 Trinidad fans. But they literally was 2 Trinidad fans.
He likes to beat on Trinidad, doesn't he? He likes to beat on Trinidad.
No. I guarantee you, somebody broke his heart from Trinidad.
Yeah, I think so too.
No.
I guarantee you, Conky.
No, they have not. I'm just telling you.
Us one day.
No, but
Go ahead, Kyle.
yeah, to pine on to what Cataract is saying, there is going to be a problem. I can see it coming, and CONCACAF better have their eyes on it. Because, from what we saw personally and from what we saw on the television screen with how they were, acting, something is going to happen. And don't think that the Hispanic fans are a monolithic group. The Hondurans, the Guatemalans, and the Mexicans, they have history. Okay? So don't trust me. Something is going to kick off. But let's just hope that it doesn't kick off on us.
Yeah, I have confidence that that they would have seen that, and that this is a country of laws. I always say that.
Right.
And they're gonna do their best to curtail that, to make sure that it doesn't happen, or to control it.
Right.
So I put the projected team on the screen. What do you guys think of the team that I'm projecting will start for us?
Can you take us through? Because
what formation is that you are you suggesting?
I forgot to put on the goalkeeper.
we don't need a goalkeeper.
Oh God, you don't need a goalkeeper.
We didn't need a goalkeeper against Trinidad, did we? You'd have still scored the one goal you scored. Frankly speaking.
That's just a reminder.
Andre, I've said this to you. Trinidad is bad.
Is what?
Poor. Muy pobre.
Trinidad does have some work to do. I'm not going to argue that with you.
I don't get cataract obsession with Trinidad. I mean,
I don't like them. They are my Caribbean rivals.
Listen.
That's it. And I don't know where all of this bromance. There is no bromance with Trinidad. I have been to Trinidad to World Cup qualifiers, and believe you me, the humility they're showing now, when they had Dwight York and Russell Latapi and all these guys in Europe, they were hype.
We didn't talk to me about it.
I mean, I won't use such strong language as I don't like them, but they are our adversaries, and I hold on, man. Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to see, both of us succeed whenever the other isn't, because it is good for us as a Caribbean people, But when we meet, definitely. I am one for giving them a good beating, just to let them know that Trinidad is a part of, Trinidad is just a small section of Jamaica.
I don't even know where you got that from. I'm going to say this clearly. I'm all for St. Kitts doing well.
Oh, boy.
I'm all for St. Vincent doing well. I'm all for Guyana doing well. Come on, my Caribbean brothers. Trinidad? No love lost here.
Anyway,
so it's giving me an error when I try to put the name in, but we know Andre Blake is
Blake in goal.
It's giving me an error. I'm trying to put the name in, but it's not allowing me.
He's not needed. Even this little thing, no, he's not needed. So Andre Blake in goal.
Right.
Who should have a resting time. Dishon Bernard and Damian Lowe should form the centre back pairing, unless there's an injury during warm-up. I think at left back, Amari Bell, the human left-footed machine, should start. And Dexter Lembekisi should start over Javane Brown.
So that's what we have there.
Right. Go on. Yeah. Joel Latimer, left side, defensive mid. Keron Lambert, right side, defensive mid. Leon Bailey, number 10, attacking mid. Damari Gray on the left. Antonio spearheading the attack. And Bobby Reed on the right.
I have it a total other way around. The Bobby Reed is the attacking midfielder and Leon Bailey playing on the right wing.
And I am glad you brought that up, because I think people missing this coach's tactical acumen. He uses Bailey as a roving attacking midfielder. As you can see, he's sometimes on the left, sometimes on the right, which is what I like. And he also interchanges with Mikel Antonio. as you can see from the start, that's how Bailey has been playing. You know, and people need to give credit as to what this coach has done. I mean, he's basically brought in a new formation, 4-2-3-1. You know, and the players are adapting and basically feasting at it. I mean,
you think it's a 4-2-3-1 or is it a 4-2-1-3?
It's adaptable. That's the point that I'm making. Malleable. Because when he makes subs, you know, you can see how it kind of changes to either 4-2-1. Or 4-2-3-1. You know, it's very, very flexible, and it speaks to our cultural style of play. Listen, it's the first time we have ever seen two Jamaican defenders score, an attacking midfielder score. We're scoring from out of our defense. You know what I mean? Basically, we can hit people from anywhere. And as it gets, you know, as we grow more and more into this formation, you're going to see those attacking attributes come out more and more. What say you?
Go ahead, Stan. Go ahead, Stan.
It depends on who you're playing, right? So,
all right.
When we play the US or center halves, in open play, we're in positions to score. We scored on a set play, right? In fact, we didn't create any chances against the US from open play. So it all depends on the opponent and how well the opponent match up with us. So Kyle has this cataract look on his face because I said we created no chance from open play against US. So Kyle, please tell me where that open chance was created against the US.
Listen,
the chance in open play was created.
Answer him, Kyle, because I've heard him trotting out.
Answer me, Kyle. Answer me. Let me hear.
Listen, I saw us create open chances
against the US. Yes. From open play, I said.
Yes.
From open play, not the penalty and not the free kick that scored.
Frankie, yes, we did, but did we capitalize on it? No.
No. Who was the chance created for?
Well, listen, man, I have to go back and watch the game again and give you.
And you will not find any.
No.
Let me tell you that right now.
We were. You see, the first up until Leon Bailey muffed that penalty, the USA was in confusion, total confusion.
Loss.
Right. I mean,
sixes and sevens.
And even when we conceded the goal, we were still giving them a warm time. And Cranky, you missed the most essential part, you know. That was our first game of the tournament with guys who were basically playing together for the first time. There was no chemistry there. Listen, when we catch them again, you know, when we catch them again, you know, it's a different Jamaican team. All right.
Like I said, look, as Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until they get punched.
Yeah.
So here's what happened in life, which is it's easy to say something when who you're playing is not of equal capability as you are. When there is a whole different story. We created no chance from open play against the US. Now, let me say this. I don't disagree about the team gelling, coming together, get more game time, playing together, familiarizing themselves, get more practice time, training. So they should be better as the tournament progresses. But let's not fool ourselves, Frank, when we talk about these things. So I did watch the US game. I did assess, because I recorded the game, frankly, how we played. And you're right, up until the penalty, we were in the game. Subsequent to the penalty, we weren't in the game.
All right.
That's not disputable.
So Stan Cranky, let me ask you a question. Yes. You understand that we were the away team. Playing
every
in
team
a
that played the
culture.
US is the away team. Every team that played the US is the away team. Excluding Mexico.
We were the away team. Having scored and up until the penalty, the United States then tried to find and throw everything, including the kitchen sink, and a referee who probably has a citizenship right now at us. They carded our defender. Look here. The game went as best as you could expect a game to go against the host nation in the opening round who are coming off of winning a major tournament, and you coming off of losing your last 2 friendly matches.
So we're digressing from the point being made.
Okay,
the point I made was this, that we created no chance of open play, and you and Kyle are saying I am not correct in my assessment, right?
Let me give you the stats. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, the stats. Shots. Total shots. USA 13, Jamaica 6. Shots off target. USA 7, Jamaica 1. Shots on target. USA 4, Jamaica 3. Okay, block shots 2 equal. Okay, shots inside the box. USA 9, Jamaica 4. Shots outside the box. USA 4, Jamaica 2. Those are the stats. So my eyes did not deceive me. We created chances. Did we make?
Because you take a shot. Because you take a shot is on target doesn't mean you create a chance. Let's not confuse the two.
All right. Okay.
I can kick the ball from half line and it goes to the keeper directly to goal. Doesn't mean I create a clear chance.
Whoa! So what is a shot? A shot is a chance.
All right.
No, a shot is not a chance.
A shot could be speculative. A shot
yes,
could be.
And they were speculative shots.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
Look. I don't think. This is my contribution to it. That was the first game of the tournament, and teams normally don't perform at their best, and they get better. Spain, when they won the World Cup recently, lost the first game of the tournament.
Right.
So the Jamaican team is getting better. The US team is getting better as well, and everybody is improving. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of hard to predict where they're going to be, where anybody's going to be at any given moment. Tomorrow, Jamaica have what I think can be a very tough game against an opponent that's going to have thousands of fans in the stands. They're going to be rowdy. They're going to make a lot of noise. The team likes to play in transition, and I think the game can be a very difficult game, as well as Jamaica could run away with the game.
So what I'd like to see us do is, and I saw this in a couple of games actually, where we're trying to play the ball. And I saw this with Guadeloupe against Guatemala. You can play the ball over the top and be successful if you're very composed in how you're making that pass, either from the midfield or even deep in your defense. You can get behind them. And we know Antonio does a great job of running the channel, right? That's what he does really well. He runs the channel well, can hold the ball up. And what he's doing really well in this tournament is have the forwards play off him, whether it's Bailey or Gray, play off him. And I think that's how we have to utilize the game, which is getting the ball in the channel against these smaller opponents. He's going to bully them, lay the ball off, and then take the ball in and take chances when we score. That's how we need to play. He needs to bully them because that's what he does well against anyone, actually.
Right.
And against smaller opponent, if we are more precise with our passing, he should be effective. But we also got to control the middle of the park because they're pretty comfortable with the ball. And we can't allow them just to be playing the ball in the middle of the park and tiring us out. We have to be able to play them close, mark the zones are pretty close. And when we win the ball, we are precise in our passing to get behind them to create opportunities for us to score.
I think in this tournament, this is going to be Jamaica has played Trinidad, St. Vincent, and America. I think we're going into a different part of CONCACAF right now. And it's not easy to play against these countries. It's not easy at all. And for the guys who play in Europe, it's going to be like their introduction, right? So that could affect the game as well, because the Guatemalans, they're going to be competitive.
Andre.
Well, these are the teams that normally in the World Cup qualifying rounds, right? Panama, Guatemala, say the Honduras of the world, the Canadas of the world, the US of the world, the Mexico of the world. It's the normal teams that are normal in this part of the competition. They don't want the favorites have gotten through.
But
the Trinidad, the Cubas of the world have dropped out. The favorites. Go ahead, Andre.
Has Gray played against them before?
No. But Gray was on the first round tournament team, so it probably doesn't matter for him. It doesn't matter for him.
It's going to be new for him. But Kyle, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, Cataract. Do you want to say something? Because I'm going to see you shaking your head. No.
Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead.
I was going to say that basically the crowd will be a non-factor because these are Prem players and they're used to playing 30,000 stadiums with hostile people. So what is the Honduras? You know what I mean? Everybody there is a Prem player and they're used to playing in hostile environments, especially when they travel throughout Europe. So why would they be bothered by a bunch of Hondurans, a bunch of Guatemalans screaming off their head? I mean, it's nothing.
Well,
new.
the crowd would be a factor, but a factor for them because they get encouragement from their crowd.
For the Guatemalans.
Right? I think we're flipping the chart and saying, well, it can be a factor in terms of us being concerned about the crowd. No, our players are not going to be intimidated.
All right.
They will get motivation from their crowd. Because when somebody's cheering for you,
I hear you.
Your legs get, that pain you feel with running, you feel better. You run harder. But that motivation is there. I think that's what.
Did you see the last game, Kyle? Did you see the last game?
Yes, I did. It was a nice shootout.
Yeah, they can be problematic. So I wouldn't dismiss them. Obviously, we all want to see Jamaica win the game. I want to see Jamaica win the game. I don't dislike Jamaicans like
like some people dislike Trinidad.
Some people do when it comes to Trinidadians, but that's okay.
I don't get it.
So that comment,
Andre would like to see Jamaica win the game and win the Gold Cup because he wants to say we were knocked out by the champions.
No,
that's what he wants to say.
All right. I mean, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, Cataract.
Cataract sound like a PNP person.
Yeah,
so listen, they take information and manipulate information and create fake news. But keep going, Cataract. Keep going.
These are the usual suspects.
Can I speak for me?
Right?
Can I speak for me?
Yeah.
I would like to see Jamaica win because Jamaica is from the region and the Gold Cup has been dominated by 2 or 3 countries.
Yes.
Yeah, the superpower. So I would like to see the Gold Cup go somewhere else, which show the football in the region is growing. That's why Cataract.
Okay. That's a very logical and rational.
May I translate?
And makes sense.
May I translate that for you, for the Jamaican fans? Trinidad will never win the Gold Cup. So go on Jamaica and do it for the whole away. That's what it really means.
Well, that could be an interpretation.
We are the kings of CFU. Repeat after me slowly. Jamaica are the kingpins of the CFU.
We have a low bar?
We are the kingpins of the CFU. We run this region.
Is that something to be proud of?
And women.
The region struggles in
Big up the reggae girls. Big up the reggae girls. Big up the reggae girls in training going to a World Cup. We are the king and queen pins of this region. Put some respect on our name.
With no practice match.
When you come and get a 0-0 or you play against a team and get a 1-0, you don't.
So we're going to pivot the conversation, Kevin.
This is
what about
something happening in the course of history.
Stop beating up Trinidad. We're going to move away from that.
Hold on. I am not beating up Trinidad. I am putting in context that this 8 teams in the quarterfinals are the teams that you expect outside of Qatar, who is not in the region, right? Who you would expect to find normally in the octagonal or the hexagonal of the World Cup qualifiers.
Thanks for repeating what I said earlier. We appreciate it.
Right.
Can we get to what?
Don't worry, Qatar. Trinidad will be back. Don't worry.
So there's a view that Gray should be in the middle of Cataract because we don't have the Ravel Morris of the world being creative to put passes into our forward line. Do you take that perspective?
Come on. If anybody watched the last game, you saw what Leon Bailey was doing. He was all over the middle, the left wing, the right wing. He was distributing the ball. I've been saying this from day one. The more our forwards, that spear, Gray, Bailey, Reed, pass, assist the ball, is the more we are more likely to score. Meaning any one of them can basically open up the floodgates. Bailey to me is ideal at that position. Okay, if he just levels his head and distributes the ball, trust me, everybody will get on that score sheet. But I don't know, but I have a good feeling that Antonio is going to be the man in this game.
in the next 3 games, and I share that sentiment. I share that sentiment. Hold a minute, Kyle. Hold a minute, Cronky. You had your time. I must agree 100% with you. I have the same feeling, Kyle. I also want to say, and maybe you can help me to express this. I was there. Whenever Demarai Gray, Mikel Antonio, or Leon Bailey were on the ball in Chicago, certainly in St. Louis and in Santa Clara, there was a look of terror and fear in the defenders.
Oh yeah. When they were on the ball and distributing it, not holding it, but just letting it go.
So let me bring some.
Let me go one thing. Whenever Demarai Gray just gets the ball, he says like, remember that come from again. Okay, I'm just gonna drift past the two of you and dismiss you and put you on a highlight. Players were trying to compensate because they didn't want to be beaten 1v1, but he quickly attracted what do you call it again now? Double coverage. But in the first game, why I think he was successful in even when he was playing is because the name was Mikel Antonio. That's who they were putting the double coverage on and trying to ensure that they closed him off, which opened up the game for Leon Bailey and Demarai Gray. That was what I saw.
Right.
So here's an objective perspective on what transpired in the USA game, because we actually need someone to talk about it objectively, not fan persons.
Who is that? You
just say one-sided. I'm going to be objective here. The reason why we didn't see the Leon Baileys, Antonio Gray, and Bobby Reed prominent in the second half of the US game, because we couldn't touch the ball. And your offensive players can show you what they can do well. They can demonstrate their capability. They can be effective if they don't have the ball. So here's what you guys are not looking into, which is we need to be able to retain the ball so our offensive players can be in the game to demonstrate all those skills you guys that they have. Because we agree they have those skills. If you don't have the ball, you can't show your wares. That's an objective perspective. And against the US in the second half, people are complaining that Gray's not in the game because he couldn't get the ball. He was playing a lot of defense versus offense. And Bobby Reed was deep beside Lambekeezy for most of the game because we couldn't touch the ball in the second half. So let's talk about how we can retain the ball so we can be effective, because as we go to the competition, you play better teams, they're going to hold possession of the ball. How do you then play maybe a counter-attacking football and get the balls up quickly to your forwards so they can be effective?
Again, and Kyle, I depend on you. You were on the other side of this of the stadium that I was, right? So we had 2 different bird's eye view. But let me say this again. I don't know what game Stan Kroenke was watching, but I'm telling you this, that you clearly don't understand the moments in football. When the game really went downhill for Jamaica in the second half was when Amari Bell ran into a brick wall. Just his body just shut down and he had to be substituted. And for me, Kemar Lawrence was having none of it past the half line. And for me, that's what kind of changed the complexion of the game in a negative way for Jamaica, in that we became under pressure rather than trying to go on the front foot again. So things happened in the game that caused what we saw.
Wait, Andre, let me finish the point. What were the possession stats in that game, Kyle? You like to quote stats.
Exact question I'm going to ask.
What were the possession stats, Kyle?
Jamaica possessed the ball for 39%. And what?
Actually, it was 32.
What were the possession stats, Kyle? Let Kyle answer the question, because he didn't catch it at the game and they tell me what I saw.
Yeah.
Kyle, what possession stats, Kyle?
It was 32.
And it meant, wait. And by the way, up to the penalty, the first half of the penalty. Wait. Call it 33. Round it up. Call it 34. And in the first half, up until the penalty, we were in the game and had good possession. So imagine from the 28-minute onward, that possession stat is in the 20s. And Cataract said, Crank, you don't know what you're talking about. What game are you watching? So how are you going to touch the ball in the second half when you have just over 20% possession and the other team has 80%? What logic are we using to assess these games?
But many teams have possession of the football and lose games because possession is not the only thing. It's
Don't
what you
conflate
do.
the points.
Sorry,
Do not
I
conflate
allowed
the
you to
points.
speak. I allowed you to speak.
Yes.
I didn't
Go on.
interrupt you. It's what you do with that possession. And yes, the US created what they said, 6 shots on goal.
Right. With all that.
With all that possession.
Right.
Because what happened with a lot of that possession was the for once in Jamaica's history, our wingers were tracking back in Bobby Reed, Demarai Gray. They were tracking back, and Kevin Lambert and Joel Latimer, they were playing like men possessed in the middle of the park. I didn't think they were effective, but they were just playing like men possessed, closing up the lanes and those things. Normally, the USA would have gone down the wing, ripped across in, and scored against Jamaica. That's what they do against us all the time, particularly when they're on US soil. We got a 3-love beating the last time we faced the USA on US soil in San Antonio, right?
All right. Catch on. Let me just jump in.
You cannot dismiss the stats. In the second half of the game, Jamaica had 31% possession, created 0 chances. Okay, while the US had 69% possession and created 1 chance. And the first half was a little bit different. Okay, but was 34 to 66. So overall, 68 to 32% possession. Right? With the US creating four big chances.
All right. My whole thing is this, gentlemen. That game is a non-issue, and you all agreed that it was our first game. The players really didn't know each other, and they needed chemistry to adjust with each other. And from game to game, we went from strength to strength. We are now going to play Guatemala. It's not the same Jamaican team. So I don't know why we are arguing about the USA issue. You know, basically, like what Cataract said, if anything, the USA was more well-tuned because they just got out of a tournament for this one. You know, we just came together. But anyway, gentlemen, let's look at the game and the upcoming games, you know, which are on our horizon. Because we
only have one upcoming game, by the way.
And we have one upcoming game. Listen, guarantee you, mark my words, we're putting 4 past them. How much they score, I don't know.
No one can say we're going to win, but we only have, as a coach and as a manager, the coach I think about the next game,
right,
and not be as arrogant as some of the fans,
right,
who believe everything is a walkover.
I am not
expect to win. Yes, with the better team. Yes, but the ball is round.
It is round. I agree, Cranky, but
we talk as if there's no opponent playing.
Cranky, I am not a coach. I'm a fan, so I'm entitled to be very enthusiastic of our chances based on the history that we have with this team. You know, not only that, based on what I saw. I mean, Guatemala is please, for love. Okay. We should be using this game to refine our defense. And
how did the Guatemala Canada game go? How did that game go?
Guatemala Canada?
Yeah.
Guatemala played Canada? Yeah, wait, let me
They can. It was a draw.
A draw, 0-0. 0-0.
Okay.
So let me say this. Kyle, I want to say this, right? I'm gonna look in the comment section. But I'm going to remember Stan Kroenke saying the ball is round and Guatemala is a worthwhile opponent that must be respected, almost on the verge of fear. And I will also look at the end of the game at 90 minutes and remind you of what the head of the Reggae Boys Supporters Club, who are the more tourist-friendly, Jamaica no problem kind of fans, and the head of the Ultras, who are the more disorderly group, are saying to you, they shall be whapped and zapped. And we are
All I'm
playing
saying is
3
that respect.
further games.
Respect your opponent. That's all.
And I am putting you on the line. I am saying that my team, the Jamaica senior men's national team, otherwise affectionately called the Reggae Boys, captained by Andre Blake of the Philadelphia Union, vice-captained by Damian Lowe, head of state of the New York.
What? I don't. Where you at, man?
What New
Is
York?
going
What are you
to the
talking about?
finals.
No,
I-
Cataract.
And
We're
I
on the
am
same page
calling
about.
you out, Stan
You calling me
Kroenke.
here for what? What are you calling me here
Is
for?
Jamaica going to the finals? Yes or no?
I'm not making any prediction about where we're going.
Wow.
The most eloquent Stan Kroenke is stuttering.
I'm not making any prediction
I-
about where we're going. I am a supporter. I have my pre-game jersey on, as you see. I'm a supporter. I want us to win. I am not an arrogant fan, though. I always approach things with an abundance of caution. I hope we play. Look, the first game we played against the US, the coach was poor in how he managed the game. And I get grief for saying that. He was poor about how he managed the game.
It's true. That's a fact.
And I get grief for saying that, right? So you can't say anything that may deem to be negative because you're a critic and you're negative. When you're calling out what you see, we're not monolithic. We don't see things the same way. I am saying respect the opponent. Do I expect Guatemala to beat us? No, we have 5.5 Premier League or 4.5 Premier League players on our team, and the rest of the other players are good players. Blake could be a Premier League player. Lowe maybe is a bit level about below. We have a lot of good players. Then McKessie plays Premier League, so we have about 5.5, 6 players Premier, and Amari Bell going to the Premier League. We should be beating these teams, but as Andre mentioned earlier, these teams only have maybe 1 or 2 players that play outside of Guatemala. That means they're playing as a team continuously for a long time, right? They have built up a sense of camaraderie and how they operate and how they engage and how they play. They have a team and we have a collection of very good players. My hope is that the collection will jive, will coalesce, will collate really well. Yes, look it up. And we'll play well going forward for the rest of the tournament.
I know this is Manning's Man Show. I am Sure Sports. Hit the like button. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. Share. And I know that Manning's Man is a man of the cloth, aka Pastor Six.
So stay within those boundaries.
This is not the collection plate. How dare you refer to my team as a collection, like it's some sort of ragtag army?
Yeah, Kroenke, that was very, very offensive. Why are we a collection and they are a team? Explain that, Kroenke. Explain that one.
So Qatar is a team. Guatemala is. So here's why I say this.
Wow.
Go on,
Let me just say this. Let me just say this.
Wow.
So can I finish? Yeah, you both gonna keep talking. So here's the point I'm making. If I play together with you for 10 months of the year or 9 months of the year, and you come together for a tournament, how will you view a team versus a collection of players? How many times, okay, when last time these players played together as a team, as you want to call it? Huh? You explain that to me. We played Trinidad in Jamaica. As the coach says, he hasn't lost a competitive game. You know why? Because he has his best bunch of players. Because he hasn't had a team for a while.
The coach never said.
Wait.
Let me finish.
No, let me finish.
Go ahead.
Let me finish. So we played Cameroon, different team. We played 2 games in Trinidad, different team. We played Mexico, not the same team. Which team have we used the same 11 players in any given set of games we have played? Cameroon, Jordan, Qatar, 2 games against Trinidad. Where have we had the same 11?
Okay,
in any game.
Can I answer the question, sir?
And most Guatemala players play in Guatemala. That's why I'm saying they have a bunch of people who play together on a continuous basis, train together. We haven't been able to do that because our players are spread out. The floor is yours.
Okay, let me make the point, concise and to the point. In the Premiership, teams have preseason games, and the average amount of games is 5 to 6. Now, we all agree that we're playing this team into form. Right now, we play the USA, which is 1 game. Trinidad, which is 2. St. Kitts, which is 3. Guatemala will be our 4th game. So we're basically coming into form. So we are a team. They know each other. They put 5 past who? Past St. Kitts. 4 past Trinidad. Expect the same against Guatemala. We are a team. And
as I said, we're a collection of very good players,
okay.
and the team will come together. The tournament progress. We're a collection of
Are
very
you
good
gonna
players.
keep speaking, or are you going to allow others to contribute? But let me
I
say
respond to Kyle comment because it's my comment.
So let me say this.
You can have the floor. You can have the floor, as you normally do, by the way.
No, you've had the floor, and
Go ahead.
Kyle and myself have allowed you until you've crossed the line.
Yeah,
And I would say, how dare you refer to the most cohesive reggae boy team that we have seen in recent memory. There is nobody promising nobody no gunshot. There's nobody pumping up nobody in an dressing room, even though there have been adversities. What we have seen here in this is a team come together and they have become a family. Kyle, you were there in Chicago. I know you had to run up in St. Louis. It's a family not only of the team, but of the coaching staff, of past players. I said Freddie Butler there and a couple other past players, along with the major heads of the fan unit. We literally did what Honduras would do. You remember, Kyle, in Chicago, we stood up outside the hotel almost all night before the game and the night after the game.
Yeah.
And the interaction, it's a family. You call my team a what?
So Kyle said. So
Like,
I'm going to go back to what Kyle said.
Hold on.
Oh,
This is not NSWA with no garbage collection. This is a family of Jamaicans who seem to have put aside the little petty differences. I don't say that they're all disappeared, but the team could have imploded when Leon Bailey missed that penalty. Instead, they coalesced and have gone on from strength to strength. Guatemala is no St. Kitts. Guatemala is no Trinidad. So I expect a sterner test, but I expect my players to rise to the occasion and deliver. Different team, same treatment.
Right.
We don't know if we reach as far as 4.
When did we become a team versus a collection of good players?
We became a
Cranky, we are playing ourselves into form.
No, Kyle, answer the question. Kyle, the logic of reasoning is not to divert.
I'm going to answer you the question. I'm going to answer you the question.
Yes.
We became a team in the 29th minute of the first half of the game at Soldier Field, where we could have imploded and start the war on the field. Instead, we buckled our belt, pull up our socks, and fought and earned a hard-earned draw against the United States on the U.S. soil, reminiscent of those heydays in Washington, D.C. We became a team in the 29th minute of the first half. That's my answer to you.
Funky, could I interrupt for a quick minute?
Agree.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I have to run. I've got something to attend to. As you can see, I'm wearing a different color shirt now.
That shirt?
Yeah. So Cataract, Jamaica will be all right.
And you put on a black shirt?
And Trinidad will be all right. Yes, I have to.
Look here, you can't come here and trick the crowd now. There shall be no funeral for Jamaica.
No.
So I don't know why you come dressed in black.
It has nothing to do with Jamaica. Kyle.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.
But let me say this.
Andre.
I want to ask Kyle, who do you expect to score tomorrow?
I expect that game to be Antonio's game. I really do. And let me tell you why. I don't think they can deal with the physicality of Antonio and the speed of Gray. Gray, Bailey, and Bobby. I really don't think so. All I hope and I pray that all these guys will just pass the damn ball and don't be selfish. Because if they just pass the ball, everybody will get an assist on a goal. Everybody. But that game is going to be Antonio's though. Nothing less than 4. Over to you, Cranky.
No, look, I'm not sure Antonio's going to score. I think Gray will score. I think Gray has been having a very good tournament. I think they're looking for him to put him in. I think he's more precise in terms of how he picks out spots to place the ball. Antonio's not a prolific goal scorer, right? We've seen him play for West Ham. He'll score, but he's not a prolific goal scorer. Gray's not prolific either, but in this tournament, given the level of competition, because he scores great goals, he's not a great goal scorer. And I think Bailey may also score, but Bailey's I think Bailey has taken on the advisement, the suggestion that he's being selfish, and he may not admit it.
Yes.
But I see him overpassing the last game versus before he would try to dribble. The ball he gave Lembekisi, there's no way Bailey's passing that. Was the first game of the competition. That ball he left to Lembekisi was offside, suggests that both he and Blake, by the way, who's being criticized for not playing off from the back, people say Blake is following the coach. But I think when situations arise where you're hearing this over and over again, it's going to get in your consciousness. So I do think Bailey's going to play more unselfish, which will only help the team because the players will then make more effort moving off the ball because they know the ball is going to proceed. If you run off the ball and don't get it, you get discouraged. So my expectation is if he passes the ball when people are open, he'll get the ball back, frankly, and players will run off him more because they know they'll get the ball, which then create more opportunities for you because your opponent then is not going to know what you're going to be doing. If I know you're going to dribble, I'm going to play you for the dribble. If I know if you're going to dribble or pass, then I have to make decisions, which when he was playing, he doesn't force people to make difficult decisions. He made it easier for them, but they're playing him to dribble. So my expectation is that tomorrow he'll pass more. And the front four, if they get the ball, should be effective.
I think that's why the coach gave Bailey that central role to roam, basically to work on his passing game, assist.
I don't think so, actually. I think he knows that Bailey's not the best going back to defend. And that's what Bobby Reid does, because Bobby Reid plays right back sometime. Gray's not the best going back, but Gray does it quite a bit more for Everton than what Bailey does for Aston Villa or Bailey does in his career. And Antonio is a workhorse.
I think he's watched his game as a winger, and he realizes that he breaks down the game when he plays on the wing. Stick him in the middle, give him that responsibility to distribute the ball, work on his game, free him up. That's what I think.
No, he's been selfish for a long time.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
But I'm just saying, you want a selfish player on the wing to go bamboozle the right or left back. You don't want them in the middle of the park when they're going to just lose the ball and create pressure on you. Come down the middle. Look,
But that's the thing, Cronky. When he's in the middle, he has more pressure to distribute the ball than on the wing. That's
but the thing about Bobby Reid helps the right back. You have a young right back there. Right. First of all, Jermaine Brown needs help sometime because he's not the best defender. And Lembekisi is a baby who needs that support from his right winger. Bailey's not going to track back all the time, right? Bobby Reid will track back all the time. So it makes sense to play Bailey in the middle. And frankly, if Bailey utilizes all the skills that he has at his disposal, his ability to go by a player or to make the pass off the dribble, it'll create more opportunities for the forward line to score.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree on that one.
So, I have another question. Is there any man in the chat who does not believe in their heart of heart that Jamaica will win this game in advance? Say no or forever hold your peace. Is there any man who is hedging their bets, talking about the ball is round and there are 11 players on the field and the game don't play on paper? You know what that means? Those are the hedgers, right? The game don't play on paper. Like we all don't know the game don't play on paper. But the truth of the matter is the game is played on the field between the white lines. And it could get a lot worse for Guatemala. Because at some point,
the game on paper.
Sorry, sir,
is the perfect person to play the game on paper.
I don't interrupt. Are you familiar with the mute button? Good.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm
gonna hit the mute
it could
button.
get a lot worse for Guatemala. But you know, Kyle, I really don't want it to be that bad for Guatemala. Because I think that on one of these games, that vaunted front four is going to click and explode on somebody. And I want that to be the USA in the finals. So I'm okay giving Guatemala 2-0. And I will take it and move on. Because I want the floodgates to open on the United States of America in the visa derby, the deportee derby. I want them to feel all those injustices, the injustice of the game at the Red Sox Stadium in Washington.
Robbing us.
Shorty Malcolm, look here, man.
You know, that's something that we need to talk about too. You know, the refereeing. You know, do you think that that's going to be a factor from henceforth going forward?
Well, Latin American players do. They manage referees, right? They fall down, they fall over. They all you touch them and they broke their leg, and all of a sudden they get up after they get the call.
Right.
We have to understand the mind games they play. It's innate to how they play football, and we have to overcome those mind games, right? Those are going to happen. There is no doubt tomorrow you're going to see a lot of that. Especially if things are not going their way, it gets 10 times worse. So we got to play a ball. We just got to beat them with a football. That's all we got to do. Beat them with a football.
So the question, Cranky, is: do you think the referee is going to play a role in the outcome? Because
no, I don't think. No matter what the referee does, we're still going to win. Even with 12 men, they're still going to lose.
Okay, but so
even with 12 men, they're still going to lose.
All right. So
if the referee want to cheat or not, it doesn't matter. So long as we don't get any yellow or red card.
Right.
I mean, red card, not yellow. We should be okay.
So the question, okay, so going forward, when we dispose of Guatemala, you think that they're going to be a factor?
Yes, because I honestly believe, and I'm every time we get, or the next time we get Dennis Strong on, I'm going to keep saying this. CONCACAF is rigged to see Mexico versus USA final. That's what they want.
That's the money.
That's the big money game for them. Right. They've telegraphed it by putting the game in California, the final in California. So half the stadium will be filled with the soccer moms and American Outlaws and Sam's Army, and the entire Mexico will cross the border, and those who live in Arizona and Las Vegas, Nevada, and everywhere will descend on the stadium. It will be sold out. Except there'll be a team in yellow in the finals.
So here's the question: was Chicago sold out?
I think it was 80%.
Technically, you could say so, but I would say there were about 4,000 short. The very upper levels.
Yeah.
In the nosebleed section, there was space. But
I think if the US is in the final, it'll be sold out regardless. If the US is in the final, it's gonna be sold out.
Yeah, but I wanna put another question here, and again, I hope management is listening, because as part of the management, Roy Simpson, etc. If Jamaica and the United States reach the finals, or when, do we have a minimum allocation that should be made for the Jamaican national team fans? Like when you have the Champions League final, or the Conference League final, or the Europa final, the tickets are distributed by a quota. Or should it be that the United States...
Will our fans take up that quota? That's the question you should ask yourself first. Right? If they allocate quotas, will we have enough fans to take up that quota? That's the first, especially if they're in California or Las Vegas. That's not where our fans are located, right? Demographically, the fans are probably South, East Coast. You don't have that volume of fans you're going to have out West for Jamaica to take up that allotted quota, as you indicated. That's why I'm concerned sometimes when the US try to manipulate where the games are played so they can have most of their fans in the stadium. And they do that all the time. But that's why the game needs to be spread out across the region.
I'm looking at the population stats right here. You have 20,000 Jamaicans that live in California. So at least...
Kyle, let me stop you right there. You're confusing something, Kyle. Because I have 20,000 Jamaicans that live in California, doesn't mean 20,000 going to attend the game.
Cranky, let me finish.
How much fans we have in Florida?
Cranky,
Cataract was in Florida. How much fans we have in Florida? We have the whole half of Florida is Jamaicans.
Cranky,
Where are the Jamaicans in the games?
Cranky, let me finish my statement.
Finish your point.
Okay.
First, all I did was give you a stat. I didn't say that 20,000 was coming. The point I'm trying to make is to piggyback on Cataract's point. If we have 20,000 Jamaicans living in California, at least have a reservation of tickets for at least a quarter of that, like 500 tickets. Simple as that.
5,000.
Well, start small, 1,500. Let's see how much people are going to snap them up. And then as the tournament goes, you just increase them, step by step. But to just sit back and say, we don't have the population, don't even bother with it. I mean, that doesn't sound...
No one made that comment. My point was this, that you may get allocated a quota when we take up the quota that's allocated to us.
Well, like I said,
we fully utilize the quota. And I'm not sure we do because...
Start small.
So what I would want to say, Kyle, is that the Jamaica Football Federation, Simon Preston and his boss, Earl Bailey, need to get on with a proper marketing and PR communication to communicate to the Jamaican fans in California and build a level of excitement amongst the California diaspora that would make a significant percentage of them, I don't know if it's 1, 2, 5, or 10% of them, want to come to that game. So you have to start from now in the marketplace of the finals if you believe you're going to make it to the finals.
And the best, I understand, and the best place to start is the Vloggers Corner, meaning you guys, your program, the JFF, Simon and them should get in touch with you guys and say, listen, we have tickets allocated at such and such a box, like what you were doing, Cataract, such and such and such and such, allocated for Jamaican fans. You start from now. Use the Vloggers Corners. But then again, that calls for critical thinking that I think the JFF is lacking.
Cornflakes says, play good, the Jamaican fans would buy tickets. Yeah.
So, we've jumped into the finals, but I want to say something here. What do we believe are the keys to victory tomorrow for Jamaica?
Run Antonio right through the middle, beat them on the wings, Bailey distributing the ball, Kevin Lambert pressing them, Latibur doing the same, high press. Well, I don't know about high press, but press. Keep it tight and compact.
But pressing is not tight and compact.
It depends on how you use pressing. You have zonal marking. You have, 1-to-1. I mean, we have to be on top of our game. Don't give them no room to breathe. Remember, my coach is a clock man, so he's basically following that philosophy. We can't let them breathe.
Our coach is a Klopp admirer.
He's a Liverpool man. It's done right this up. What you want here? Cranky warm, your face look vexed.
No.
Let me and correct me if I'm wrong, because we do want to keep some football discourse in here. You're saying that their keys to victory are Mikel Antonio, and what he does through the middle.
Right.
You're saying that the Bailey distribution of the letter in the final third.
It's key.
And you're saying that the central midfield pairing of Latibur and Lambert hassling and harassing
exactly
the Guatemalans and not allow them to get comfortable on the ball. So you've outlined 3 keys to victory.
Again, hold on it. Didn't Lambert give us 2 penalties?
Yes.
There you go.
Right.
So I'm gonna ask those in the chat as to what they think also are the keys to victory tomorrow.
But I'm asking you, the man in the chat, whether hit the like button and just tell us what you think are your keys to victory for Jamaica tomorrow. Stan Donkey, what
So
are
I
your key
think-
positions for Jamaica, apart from the
I
ball is
think-
low?
The ball is round. You didn't realize that. I think the keys are defensively. We are sometimes susceptible to crosses, to set plays, and we give a lot of headers towards goal and give a lot of goals from set pieces, which is very surprising given her size. So my hope is that we play very compact defensively. I don't believe we should press a team that retains the ball well. I think you start your press, you're going to press just over half line and not in their 18, but we may decide to go otherwise. And I think offensively, it's not rocket science. You got to take your chances. When we play against Trinidad, we miss some of the easiest chances ever. We got to take our chances. And you get chances by just playing your game, right? Play your game. You get the balls up to your strength. You get the balls up to your best players. So how do I get don't make the 40-yard pass that Lowe normally does and turn the ball over. Play the balls between the line. Get the balls up to Antonio because he's very powerful. He has smaller players than him. He will lay the ball back off to either Bailey or Gray or Reed on the right. So if you're pushing them deep up the field, I don't think they're going to press us, and you're using your power against them, and you're holding up the ball when our players run off you, and most importantly, you take your chances, which we don't do as well as we need to. And I think against Trinidad, I was very disappointed because we were missing wide open chances. And we'll get Guatemala will give chances tomorrow, especially on their right side or left side. So I think Gray is going to have a good day if he gets the ball, because I watched Guadeloupe against Guatemala, and I thought their left winger got a number of chances, didn't put them away. Because I don't think the right back is that great, actually.
So the first thing I'd like to see for the Reggae Boys is us keep a clean sheet. I don't expect the game to go into extra time. And I don't want the game to go into extra time and down to penalties. Although we do have good penalty takers, Corey Burke has put away his penalty recently, dispatched it with a plum. Shamar Nichols dispatched his penalty with a plum. Maybe I suggest that whenever the Bailey gets the ball, he just tries to walk the ball and put it on the penalty spot for Shamar to kick and score. Anywhere else, he seems to miss.
But Shamar on the field, as if Shamar is on the field.
No, towards the end of the game, I would expect Shamar Nichols to be on the field because he would be one of the substitutions made. I think the Mikel Antonio is a key to victory for me. In terms of him bursting into life, I believe if he scores one, and he's going to then start attracting the attentions of the defenders. And if he scores two, then the floodgates open for others to join. I also believe that Amari Bell is a key to victory because the ability to operate and close on the right winger, I'm not sure of his name, but in the game against the game that ended 0-0, their right winger had a lot of action in the game. So I believe that Amari Bell's defensive work on that left wing is a key to victory. And I have a out of left field, but I believe that if the Guatemalans play a cagey game, then the single key to the Jamaican victory and advancing lies in a 17-year-old Dujon Richards when he comes on running at tired defenders who have played like 70, 80 minutes dealing with Damari Gray's speed, Bailey's speed, and Antonio's power. I would like to see Whisper be the first substitution, and I believe that he will repay Jamaica in this game. I see him as the key to victory. Antonio, Whisper, and Amari Bell doing his defensive duty on the left-hand side. What them?
I'm confused. I'm confused, actually.
You would be,
so,
because
I'm confused, and it's not me confused. It's the person speaking is confused. So here's why the person's confused. So if I'm on this program for the last 2+ hours. I heard from Cataract, this is an easy game. We're going to walk them about 4 or whatever the number is, right? Let's listen. Let me speak. I'm speaking. Let me speak. Whatever the number, we're going to walk them. It's an easy game. We're going to walk over them. We're going to trot up on them. And then he says a substitute coming on late in the game is key to the game. Can people see the lack of logic in that whole thought process and that it makes no sense? In fact, it's nonsensical. Because how can someone be a key to the game when they're a substitute late in the game? What do you expect to be destroying your opponent way before they get to the substitute? What am I missing in that assessment, that thought process, or lack thereof?
You always say that listening is key. And Kyle, I'm sure you heard me say that if Guatemala decides to park the bus and be cagey and get into late into the game at 0-0 or 1-1, I expect the magic, the unpredictability of Dujon Richards to unlock the game and unlock the winning goal. That's what I'm saying. So, yes.
So here's the thing. If you join the program, go ahead.
If Mikel Antonio opens up, wakes up, and decides to do like what he did to Honduras, no, it's not Costa Rica. Who did get it? Honduras did get it, and I think Canada did get it in our stadium. Mikel Antonio can just get up on the side and say, I want to score any given day at any given time. And if he decides to do that and it comes early, the floodgates are coming. Guatemala is no United States.
Exactly. That's what I believe. Once we touch 2, just open up the gates. That's it.
So like I said before, don't listen to that. If you're in the chat, don't listen to that nonsense or lack of logic, because it makes no sense. And I'll say this again. There's no parking the bus occurring. Guatemala doesn't know how to park. They don't park bus. That's not how they play. They try to play football. We will have opportunities to score. My hope is that we put our chances away. And if we put our chances away, we should win the game. Because I do think what has happened to us, actually, is we've gotten better defensively because Bernard has replaced Mariappa. People haven't talked about that. We have a much more mobile center half and a much more physical center half, and one that can get to the ball quicker, because Mariappa wasn't in the game a lot of time.
Will he start him though, Cranky? That's the question.
Nah, he has to start him.
Has to. Right?
It's not even debatable. He has to start him. You have to start your best team at this point in the tournament.
Right.
He has to start him. Mariappa played a couple of games. He hasn't. Right. It's not the same Mariappa we know for a long time ago. He's not as mobile, not as flexible. He doesn't get on the ball as much as he needs to. He doesn't cover as well. Because sometimes people don't see him making mistakes because he's not in a position to make mistakes.
What's your score?
Right? If you don't get in a position, you can't make a mistake, or you're not even around to cut out danger. So I expect Bernard to start tomorrow. And I expect him to play well.
What's your prediction? Score line.
3-1 Jamaica.
Oh, God. That's weak, man.
Wow.
So wait. What's your prediction, Kyle? What's your prediction, Kyle? Wait.
He said it for long. How many times did he have to say it to you?
And what's your prediction, Cataract? So Dijon Whisper's going to save us. Dijon's going to save us. Whisper's going to save us. So what's your prediction?
So a number of the man them, many of whom I have had running battles with throughout the time. Omzo, Lulu, Owen, the double name man them. I think Cornflakes and the crew, they have pointed to the midfield as being the key to victory, the central midfield pairing. How do you gentlemen feel about that?
I think they've gotten better as the tournament progressed. I think Lambert has surprised many,
yes,
especially defensively. I think he has to be more prominent offensively, actually. So I don't think he demands the ball as much. But I think Lati has been running out. He hasn't stopped running since he got off the bus or the plane.
Yeah, I mean,
he hasn't stopped running.
Well, Lati run like a goat thief in a country.
Not only
when the community come down for him, it just a run at a sight, man.
Yeah, but gentlemen, let's not forget how they passed the ball, because I've seen both of them make some nice defense splitting passes,
Yes,
that pass that went to Billy that they ruled out, but that was right. beautiful pass. And I've
By
seen
that
Lambert. Yeah, I've seen Lambert made some passes to man. I'm saying, wow. I mean, listen, boy, guys, this is a new team, formation-wise, tactically wise, how they expressing themselves. You know, you compare that to the previous Gold Cups where our formation was what 5-3-2, where we would hunker down in our half and invite pressure. We're not doing that. This is a fluid team that's basically getting stronger and stronger. You know, so I'm looking for us to build on that. Yes, sir.
Well, it all goes to, do you have players with certain skill set and capability? We have 4 Premier League players who are starters, a lot of time on their team. We have 1 coming to the Premier League, and we have 1 who's played periodically for Wolves, not a lot. It's about the quality of the players. When you have quality players, you can play with your opponent. If you don't, you go low block and hope you nick a goal and then defend well. If you think you have the quality, you're going to try to express yourself. It may cost you, but you're going to take more risks because you have the quality on the field.
Good point. Fair.
My belief is I still believe the jury's out on that center midfield pairing. I do believe, however,
why?
Hold on. Let me finish. I want to see how they perform against the Mexicos and a more determined US team in the semifinal and finals. Because there are things that I see, I'm not going to say them now, that I'm not too really comfortable with. I think I said it on one program before, and I will repeat it again. I am a fan of Anthony Grant. In Grant we trust. And I'm saying the goal that Russell scored, for example, and the penalty won by Lambert, Anthony Grant would never be anywhere near there because he's not going in anybody's 18-yard box.
So how you know that's not the players?
No. Hold on. What I'm saying is that it's a different approach to the CDM role, right? Your Grant like CDMs, Kevin Isaacs, Kim and Josh and Anglin, they're protecting the back four. While this midfield pairing, I see want to get more involved in starting the attack. Right. Am I incorrect? And I'm saying I have to give credit where credit is due and acknowledge where there's a difference. So I can base it now, as it is now, I can see the coach, maybe see the coach's decision of where the CDM is concerned. I want to see whether Russell can come on and close down a game, shut up the shop. That's what I would say about the central midfield.
So I was hoping, I thought we would, I was at my fingers crossed because we don't have much more time in this program, that we'll go through a whole program with Cataract on the program, and I wouldn't hear AG's name mentioned. But I was asking for too much. I thought we're close. And I'm saying cross my fingers, saying no AG, no AG, no AG. And obviously I was disappointed. But anyway, I'll say this actually.
His name is the judge.
Yeah, okay, in your world. So I'll say this actually, which is there's a difference between how we used to play CDM before, where our CDM, because we're pressing more. So when you're pressing more, everyone is pressing further up the field. What I would love to see, though, is a better linkage between my number 10, and I think Bailey's playing that role now, and my 2 midfielders. So how do I transition the ball from my defenders to my central midfielders to my 10, to my wingers, or to my center forward? That transition, that connectivity doesn't manifest itself throughout the game as much as it needs to, right? And even defensively, you need it also, where my 10 becomes my first or second line of defense. Because we're trying to press so much, it's a much more distributed way of how we're operating. We're trying to close on all the gaps. So if you break the first line, we're challenged. And my concern in the game is that Guatemala does a decent job of keeping the ball. So you got to be very careful when you're. That's why I think the press should start just over half line versus starting at their 18-yard line. Because when you beat the press, then you have Lambert and Latti are the ones you're going to face. And Latti does overlap quite a bit, actually, and can get caught upfield sometimes. As Cataract mentioned, even Lambert is in the box sometimes, more than once, by the way. He won a ball against Trinidad in the box. He got a penalty against US in the box. He's playing much further upfield.
Yep.
And when you break that line, even though now it's better because we no longer have Maps back there, we have a more mobile Bernard and a more mobile Lowe playing in the center half position. So they can cover more ground and be quicker to cut out the passes to prevent the forwards from getting behind us.
I agree 100%. Listen, I just wanted to say to the those in the chat room, thank you for pressing the like button. We are up to 6,000 viewers. You know, please continue to press the like button. You know, keep building this content. Like I keep saying, this is a thinking man's sports program. Different points of view. We don't all agree, but you know, we are here in the interest of Jamaican football.
Well, I'm going to caveat that by saying sometimes the thought, especially from Cataract, is confusing. I'm still trying to digest the notion that Whisper is going to save us tomorrow. When I think by the time Whisper comes on, the game should be put away. If Whisper is saving us tomorrow, I am concerned that the game is close. I'm concerned the game is too close. I would not be happy and I would not be comfortable. Like I'd be very antsy if Whisper is saving us.
Oh, God.
Because the coach hasn't given more than 15 minutes so far in the game.
I am sure you'll be on the watch along and you'll be like, oh, yes, I did tell you that the game is played on paper. I'm saying again, if Guatemala decide to park the bus and put 11 men behind the ball and hope for a counter-attack and win 1-0 and get out of there, that is when I'm looking for Dujon Whisper to come on later in the second half and unlock the game.
So one point, to be serious though, one point I think I should make actually. I think the coach has been utilizing both Burke and Nicholson before Whisper. I think Whisper should come on the field before both of those guys. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Especially Nicholson. I think that Nicholson is trying to compensate. He's overdoing it. And it's just not working out for him. He needs to warm the bench to basically clear his mind. You know, bring on Whisper and bring him back in slowly.
But do you think the coach will look at it and say the more physical player like Nicholson, the sort of battering ram, remind me of Emil Heskey, for those of vintage football. The coach might feel that sort of battering ram would augur well. I don't think they have 6'4" defenders or 6'3" defenders in the Guatemalan squad. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think that Nicholson is more of a battering ram than Whisper. In fact, to me, Whisper is more silky. He's more tricky.
Yeah, that's not a battering ram.
You miss what I'm saying. Whisper brings that package and more. You know, if he needs a battering ram, I believe that Whisper can give him that aspect of his game. But he can also complement it with being slicky and tricky. That's my opinion.
I've not seen Whisper play with his back to the goal. I have not seen Whisper play with his back to the goal. He has not been in that position. He's been deployed on the right wing. Right. And he has done it effectively the 2 times that he came on the field. But
no, I think that he will put on the Nicholsons and the word for whether it's experience or physicality. Right. But I think what you need is differentiating quality versus physicality. So I see Burke play, for example, very physical, run hard, but I don't see him having differentiating quality. I don't see he can beat a man. I don't see him making a Whisper pass the ball really well, actually, and can make incisive passes, which what I'm assessing players. I'm looking, can he pass the ball? Can he beat a man? No, he will cross the ball, and he did it with Nicholson when they played in Austria, set him up for a tap-in, which he didn't take. So he has those skill sets, which you can't really teach sometimes, that we need in those games when you need to have a difference maker. Nicholson is a good player and holds the ball up well. The problem with Nicholson is that he's feeling the pressure and he's pressing and he's not having good outcome. Go ahead, Cataract.
Not you, Stan, for once. I tried to go through an entire program without taking out about it. Jairus, what do you mean by man a fanboy? No, understand you, brother.
Cataract, come on, man.
No, understand you,
Yeah,
brother.
Cataract, we're not going on the
I am
average.
a
Cataract,
fan
Cataract, come on,
of
man.
the Reggae Boys,
Oh,
of
God.
all the players. And if I believe, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to have a young man who the coach has clearly identified, spoken and stated of his admiration, and has defined the skill set that he sees in this player, and have people try to ridicule or make light of the young man. I am saying to you that having listened to Coach Halgrimson's assessment, I don't listen to Craig Butler, and the coach was crystal clear about what he sees from film pro license, and I am saying we have seen some of that emerge, and it is on a crescendo. It allowed a goal to be scored against Trinidad. But I believe he will go on. Even if he don't score no more goals, I believe he will be a difference maker in this game. Does that make me?
I'll say this about a comment. I don't think it's a fair comment, J. Russ, because even though the kid is young, most people who watch football and can do a good assessment of talent, even with a smaller sample size, can see the kid has ability. And frankly, Chelsea, if the kid go to England and go to trials at Chelsea and Newcastle, which are big teams, and Chelsea sign him, Chelsea does one of the better scouting network in the world, frankly. They sign a bunch of young players. They think he has ability. The coaches come here and see his ability. And the coach is very impartial and very objective and independent in his thinking. And he's bringing the kid into his program when others were calling for others to be brought in. And he's seen the local players and he's seen Whisper. So let's give the coach some credit. Let's give the kid some credit. And not saying somebody's a fan, whatever. It's a very derogatory term, by the way, to utilize, and not a good term. You can't believe the people because they have a perception that may not align with your perspective. But the kid is a good player. And I like the kid's game, not because he went to my old high school, frankly, because people accuse me of that. The kid can play football, but he's learning. And I think he should get more game time, given the danger he poses when he comes on the field, versus others like a Kareem Paris or a Burke, who I don't see differentiate themselves in this tournament so far. They've gotten chances. I think Paris has started the game, and they have made an impact. And the kid has only been substitute, and he has made an impact. So you reward performance, and his performance should be rewarded. And I bet if he gets a decent amount of game time, he'll be effective. Now, the one thing I say about him is this. He has to learn the other side of the game. Because in contemporary football, you got to play both sides. You can't just be an offensive player, and then you realize, oh my God, they're attacking me. Because I saw that when he was in Austria. He's reactive to his defensive responsibilities versus being proactive. So my hope is that but he's young. The kid is what, not even 18 yet? Give him a break.
Still learning. Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. The outcome as to who gets on the field is going to be determined on what is required. Put it like that. So in Corey Burke, we have somebody who presses. He basically supports the forward, whoever that forward might be. Mikel Antonio, if there's a sub, he's going to come in to basically support Nicholson or whoever. Nicholson.
I don't think Burke has done enough, Kyle, to deserve game time. So I think Nicholson should still get game time because he has a good all-round game. Burke, to me, doesn't have a good all-round game. He works hard.
Right.
He doesn't take a play off. He puts in a shift. But I need something different from what he's giving me. Well, I need the effort, but effort should be innate to you as a footballer.
He scored on the last game, right?
Yeah, and so did Bernard, and so did Russell, and so did a bunch of other players. That's not that. Okay, right?
So, gentlemen, if I may, I want to say this again, and I think we're all on the same page.
Right.
Let us support Dujon Richards, who is now in with several caps for the Jamaica national team. I thought I would go through a program without having to agree with Cronky, but I do. He has to pay attention to his defensive responsibilities because that's just part and parcel of the modern game. That very few you would have to be like a Lionel Messi to be allowed just to ignore your defensive responsibility, and he needs look no further than, for example, Midfield Ozil, the Turkish international and former Arsenal
There's an
player.
Ozil. I call him lazy, but go on.
Right, but there was a time when players were Flair and you know, Carlos Valderrama, Jermaine Hugh, you know, they're interested in the defense, their offense. So you are correct that the modern game has changed, and therefore a player is required to do their fair share of the defensive work. But he's a work in progress. I think when he gets to Chelsea in their academy, I don't see him being in the first team. I don't know what Craig Butler talking about, but in the academy or the developmental squad setup, I believe that he will learn those aspects of the game very quickly, and he is not the finished product. And in years to come, he will be a credit to Jamaica and a rock in our team. I just want to go in a little direction. I know we're closing up shortly. Let me ask you, because I believe it's criminal for players to come to Jamaica and play for the Reggae Boys and then on a name. You have to get baptized. I know we have given Damari Gray the name Drift, the way him just drift past people. But I know that Black a Pearl, short for Blacks, was a name given to the great Walter Boyd, our number 10. Kyle, can we safely christen Dujon Bernard as Blacks?
I don't know, man. I mean, whatever these guys come up with, knowing us,
How
culture.
we have to come up with it?
I haven't really given it no thought. I mean, I don't know, man. Let's wait till after this game.
Okay.
I don't like the
it's not
name.
after the game there. And I am searching, fans, ultras, we are searching for a name for Latimer because it cannot be Blondie. We don't call no man Blondie.
How can we say somebody who's silky smooth, drifty? Drifty sounds like a drunkard, like somebody who's staggering. That's not a good name.
I would call him Butter.
Drifty.
Gray, I would call Butter. Bernard.
I come something like SM, silky smooth or something which just says
you're not afraid
drifty
with the popular culture.
Okay.
That's the number one song. Watch me mash up in ya. Mash up in ya. What were we saying every time he touched the ball, Kyle? Mash them up. And what did he do? He obliged by mashing them up. Drift past a guy like him not dead here. The Damari Gray do well tomorrow. I hope the team, remains injury free. I hope that, God gives his blessing on the team, whoever you pray, Allah, Jah Rastafari, whoever, because we have gone through without injury, major injury concern. And I believe that if we remain fit, we can go all the way. This is just another stepping stone. The guys hold their head down. The fans them that are going to the game, watching their head back. Be safe, and Guatemalans, see you next Gold Cup. Bye-bye.
What's your last word, Kyle?
Adios. Adios, amigos. Adios.
All right.
C'est la vie.
All right, gentlemen. Again, it was good being here, listening to all the views. Like I said, for love. After 4, any number can play. You just pick your number. But I expect us to do well. I expect us to grow from strength to strength. Do I have any concerns? To be honest with you, not really. I really don't see us having any trouble with this Guatemalan team. Damari Gray, I would name him Butter. Bernard, thinking about it now, I would name him Terminator because nothing now pass him, and him fast. And that's it. What's you, Cranky?
So I'll say this. I'm hoping for a good game tomorrow. Join us tomorrow. I think the game's at 5. We'll probably be on about 4:30 with the watch along. Expect it to be a good game. Expect us to play well. And as we're saying, as the tournament progresses, we are continuing to improve as we go through the tournament, and hopefully it will get to a point, to the crescendo where we're winning the tournament. by the end of the Gold Cup. So thanks for joining us this evening. We appreciate your time. Good conversation. Please don't utilize cataract logic and way of reasoning as a criteria about how you reason, because it's not a good thing. It's not a good example to follow. And cataract, you spoke already, so you don't have to respond. You cannot respond because you spoke already. You give your final concluding thought. I had the last word. Have a good evening. Appreciate you being here, and join us for the watch along tomorrow. Peace out.
You can't even end the show properly. When we get to this point, we say we're over.
And my last point is, management, please don't get a yellow card tomorrow or a red card. We're over and we're out.